Congratulations on your new show. Big deal, huh?
That's why shows like yours are so important.
We have an independent county-elected sheriff that's the head of law enforcement in Jacksonville/Duval County. And I know how to work toward making this city safe.
We can't be shy about speaking on things such as faith and politics. We have to remember, in a free society, the public square belongs to all of us.
I'm not interested in North Florida looking like Orlando or Miami. I love where we live, but I think that good jobs means that people that live in this district can stay in this district.
Fishing and hunting is funding a large part of your conservation projects in Florida, and we want to make sure that those are forever preserved.
And the problem with this industry at this point is that they actually target our youth. You can see it in their marketing strategies, where it's bright colors, fun names.
And that's going to be endlessly litigated.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with an offer that can help steer your retirement in the right direction. Look, we're going to navigate the turbulent waters of 24 with this financial uncertainties and shifting tides. Having expert guidance is more crucial than ever, and that's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. As Southwest Florida's certified financial planner professional, Alfie brings expert knowledge and insight. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, isn't just a guide. It's your navigational compass for mastering the financial seas. With decades of experience, Alfie has crafted a powerful roadmap to help you chart your course and make impactful waves in your retirement. Look, for a limited time, you can claim your free copy of this valuable guide. That's right, no cost. This book is more than just pages. It's your blueprint for a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. Don't let this opportunity drift by. Text BOOK to 239-747-1080. That's BOOK to 239-747-1080. Look, secure your free copy today, and let's make 24 the year you confidently navigate towards a brighter financial future. Text BOOK to 239-747-1080.
I've been dipping snuff for well over 30 years. You know, I could wake up in the morning and have a weird lump in my gums. Guess it's like playing Russian roulette, really. I would love grandchildren. And if by quitting it extends my life some, I would gladly lay it down.
Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com to find free resources to help you quit your way.
Today, push harder, push forward, push vigorously.
There are things that I am hiding from people that I'm trying to inspire.
You can do whatever you set your mind to.
I feel like a hypocrite a lot of the times.
Don't give up on yourself ever.
Smoking, I hide it because I'm ashamed of it. I want to get out of the shadow. I want to show people there is light away from the darkness. I am going to quit.
Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com to find free resources to help you quit your way.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Radical anti-hunting forces are working to ban fishing and hunting across the country. These extreme attacks on our heritage must be met. Thankfully, the International Order of T. Roosevelt is fighting back as the nation's premier organization defending our rights to fish and hunt. This April, you can step into the arena with us and join our fight in Naples, Florida. Join us at the historic Ritz-Carlton Tiburon and hear from world-class speakers including Tucker Carlson. The annual event is the best place for conservationists, anglers, hunters, and all those who want to protect the outdoors to come together, build strategies to protect our rights, and expand opportunities in the future for generations to come. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. You don't want to miss this event.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Thank you for waking us all up out here, for all you do.
Thank you for giving us the voice.
For being out there helping keep the constitutional republic. I want to thank you for
your support for veterans in the military.
Educating us.
Standing up for conservatism.
Giving us the truth.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Here we are. We are live, everybody. We are live downtown Fort Myers. We are at Bay Street Yard. A big round of applause for everybody being here together as we make some noise so you can, so I can prove to you all that we are here live. And it's pretty amazing when you have an opportunity to get out and be with people here in the state of Florida, a state that is absolutely resilient. There's no doubt about that after a lot of what has been happening. But of course, a lot of it has to do with great governance. A lot of it has to do with your local state governance that has been taking place here in the state at all different levels, and a great governor. And I'd say we have probably one of the most amazing governors ever. Would you say that, Ron DeSantis, right? There's no doubt about that. So much to talk about today as we are here live at Bay Street Yard, downtown Fort Myers, and so appreciate everybody for stopping by as we are live across the state and the opportunity to bring all kinds of issues. You know, some of the things we're going to talk about today, as we'll bring some of the local officials in and some of the state officials as well. The governor's going to be here. Governor Ron DeSantis will be here in just a little while from now, so we're excited about that. And then, you know, somewhere along the line, we're going to be talking about the election. And, I mean, everybody's aware. You're all ready. Everybody's ready to go. It's election time, and everybody's ready to, you know what we're doing. You know where we're going here. And, you know, it's funny because yesterday there was an opportunity for, once again, the nation to see the other side and Kamala Harris doing this CNN town hall. And I don't know if anybody had a chance to watch it. I watch those kind of things, so you don't have to. And let's just put it this way. It didn't go over as well as I think some of the Democrats and even Kamala Harris thought it would go over. But, you know, I'll play some audio later on because, you know, how you're going to spin out of a lot of this is going to be pretty remarkable. All right, in the meantime, it was fun to get up here onto the stage here at Bay Street Yard, downtown Fort Myers, along with Florida's Voice. And the moment I get up here, I have Jenna Persons, and I have Kevin Ruane, who are both here on the stage, and we're all talking back and forth, and they're having this great conversation. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, you got to save it for the radio. All right, so we have the Representative Jenna Persons is here right next to me on stage here. A big round of applause for our state rep. And Lee County Commissioner Kevin Ruane over to my other side right here, and here he is as well. And if you want to grab those mics. And so first of all, it's great to see you both here. I'm going to start with Jenna first. It's great to see you. How has everything been for you? How are you doing today? Can you hear?
And
whoops,
there we go.
There we are. Go ahead.
Thank you, Drew, and good morning to everybody here and everybody watching and listening online. Welcome to downtown Fort Myers. We love Fort Myers.
Yes. And you're in the sun right now, by the way. For those that don't are watching at flvoicenews.com, you got the sun is like out, and we were just laughing because the sun was coming up, and it was like right on Jenna. It was awesome.
It's a beautiful morning.
Yeah, it is. It's a great day. Kevin, how are you today, sir?
Great, Drew. Thank you. Great to see everybody here and happy to participate.
Yeah. So a couple of things I wanted to get into. First of all, right away, I have to ask you, and I'll start with Jen if you don't mind. You know, we once again witnessed the resilience of the state of Florida as two hurricanes make their way through. Obviously, you know, we think about everyone who were the folks that were affected up in northern Florida there, and Hurricane Helene, and then Milton comes through as well, and you have so many people that were affected across the state. I'm wondering, first of all, your constituents, people that you've talked to, how is everything going, the cleanup? I was shocked because where I was personally here in Southwest Florida, I couldn't believe how many tornadoes there were. I was not ready for that, and that popped up. But having said all of that, what about that cleanup, resilience? Maybe you could speak to that.
No, thank you, Drew, for keeping that foremost on our minds and conversation this morning. All of us having gone through Hurricane Ian together and continuing through that recovery and then being hit again and again, we understand what that means to communities, and that it's a long-term recovery well after the media stops talking about it.
Yeah.
Here in Fort Myers and Lee County after Hurricane Milton, the recovery, the response, the resiliency, it's been huge. It's been strong. Remember, downtown Fort Myers, just right over there on Dean Street, had inches and inches of floodwater. These businesses right around the corner got hit in Helene, hit in Milton, and I kept hearing them say, are we going to have to do this every 2 years?
Yeah.
So I just do a shout out to all the local businesses. They were here cleaning up the next morning before the sun was even out.
Right.
They had people here, and support your local businesses, because that helps us all continue to get through this together, and let's keep thinking and helping and supporting those other communities that were hit harder than us, because we know what it's like, and this is a long-term recovery. And the PTSD after these storms, I mean,
Yeah.
it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. But I'm proud of our community, and I'm proud of everybody that evacuated too.
Yeah.
You guys made the right decision. It kept us all safe.
And Kevin, what about you? And as far as the cleanup, your constituents, people talk to you. What has been happening, and then speak to again the resilience. It's just incredible what we do here.
Thanks, Drew. I mean, my district is all coastal, so when you start to look at Captiva, Sanibel, Pine Island, and Boca Grande, it's amazing. I was on Boca Grande yesterday with our Senator Martin, and we went up to a constituent and he said, if there's ever a reason I will build back, it's just how well you recover from the storms, how well you've been able to get roads up, bridges up, sand removed, and we're ready to roll. So we've spent an awful lot of money with resiliency. I thank the governor for his leadership 2 years ago and really setting the stage for FDOT to be able to help us move the roads and get things done as quickly as we possibly can.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that, because we were kind of talking about that. I was talking to you both off the air before we got started. And, the thing that's so amazing to me in some of what has taken place in the state is, if you were living in Southwest Florida during Ian, you know how hard we got hit, and you know how much needed to be done. And the fact is that when the governor came in and said, we're not wasting any time here, the causeway, we got to get up and running, we got to get going. And within no time at all, we were up and running. We had those vehicles making its way over the causeway. I mean, what was done was remarkable. And then after the fact, to know that can happen and to be able to pull that off should be an example for the future. And maybe even, Jenny, you can speak to this too, because what ends up happening is, and I talked to Kevin about it, was the fact that, unfortunately, we're going to have these storms. But after each and every storm, you have an opportunity to look, to assess, to see what we did well, to see what things we can do better, and ultimately we get better. And that's part of the resilience that we have here in the state.
Absolutely. And I want to say a thank you for Commissioner Ruane. After Ian, he took the lead and spearheaded a recovery task force that included stakeholders and folks from the community and all different industries around the county. And I had the honor to sit on that task force with him, and we talked about what can we do better, how can we plan, how can we be more resilient, and then the board adopted a great plan. And we got to see some of that in action as we prepped for these storms. And I think it's a great model. I know Commissioner Ruane would be happy to share that with the rest of the state as well, but we do have an opportunity to come back better, come back stronger, and we do take advantage of that, because it's all about the people, it's all about each and every one of you, and you guys are the strength of this community.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Sharing that with the state, right, sir?
I appreciate it, really. I mean, so it all starts from people helping neighbors. Like you said, Hurricane Michael victims came on down, the county commission, and kind of shared their plan and said, here's what we did well, and here's what we did poorly, and here's what you can learn from. And thank God we had that plan in place, because the recovery, to put lights on, to be able to have water, restored in days is just remarkable. And I'm really grateful for all the people that participated in that.
We have State Representative Jenna Persons and Lee County Commissioner Kevin Ruane joining us on Florida's Voice here. And we are downtown Fort Myers live today, one of our shows that we are going to do a lot more of going across the state with Florida's Voice. It's such an amazing part of what Florida's Voice is able to do, and to be able to have this show across the state as well. And then now we have some other issues that we have to discuss, some important issues that have to do with, well, in my eyes, I get frustrated when I see some of what has been happening with the amendment process. I get frustrated with what's been going on here in the state, and I feel like outside sources coming in to try to change the will of the people of the state of Florida, and I don't like what's happening. And I can say for sure that you know exactly where I'm going with this in Amendment 4. Maybe you want to speak to that, Jenna.
No, thank you, Drew. And on this ballot, if you haven't already voted, or if you voted, one of the amendments you'll be voting on is Amendment 4. And it's extreme, it's deceptive, it's dangerous. I've had the privilege to go around Lee County and speak on Amendment 4. And the 4 things I share with folks to remember and share with others are these. 1, it eliminates parental consent before a minor can obtain an abortion. That's a hard no for most people, and that puts our girls at risk, especially when you take into play everything else this amendment does. Yeah. 2, it removes doctors from the equation. It provides that an undefined health care provider determines if a baby's viable, determines if a woman's health justifies a late-term abortion when a baby can feel pain. And it's so broadly and deceptively written that we're pretty sure they're going to try to overturn the requirement that only doctors can perform abortions. 3, again, there are no definitions. It's broad, it's deceptive language, and it will permit abortions for nearly any reason at any point in the pregnancy and well past the time when the child can feel pain. And last, we've seen their playbook. If this passes, they're going to try to require us to fund abortions with your taxpayer dollars. Yeah. They're doing it in Michigan right now. So that's their playbook. And you know, if those that were pushing this amendment, if they cared about women, if they cared about girls, they would have included definitions. They would have included a licensed physician in this amendment. They would have designed it differently, but they didn't, because it's all about greed. But the great thing, and the one thing I want to leave people with, is that, you know, while they're pouring in tens of millions of dollars funded by George Soros, Planned Parenthood, and others to spread lie after lie to campaign to get this amendment in our Constitution, we have the truth. We have a governor and leadership across the state that's pushing back to spread the truth, and we have a grassroots effort. So I encourage each and every one of you to reach out to 5 friends. Spread the truth about this amendment to 5 friends, because when people read the words, when they start asking the questions that need to be asked, and when they start learning what it might mean, they're saying no. Yeah. Whether they're pro-life or pro-choice, they're saying this doesn't belong in our Constitution. Yeah, no doubt. Kevin, I'll give you the last word. We got about a minute.
I mean, listen, first and foremost, I want to thank Jenna for being the champion on this. It's really important to our community. We're a very conservative community, and quite frankly, I can't even think of the travesty that will take place if that was to pass. So thank you for all your hard work.
All right, everybody, a nice round of applause for State Representative Jenna Persons and Lee County Commissioner Kevin Ruane. All right, coming up. Listen, we just keep going, everybody. We are live here on Florida's Voice statewide, as right now I believe we have Senate President, is that right, Kathleen Passidomo? Is she nearby? Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Kathleen Passidomo, everybody. It's hard to see you with the sun. The sun is like right in front of me. You can grab that mic right there. And how are you?
I'm great. This is an amazing crowd. There's a couple hundred people here at 8:30 in the morning.
How about that? Looking really good.
Maybe 300, right? 3, 4?
It's for us. They came for the two and the food and drinks.
And the bar's open. I feel like I'm in an airplane.
And the bar's
8:30 in the morning, mimosa.
And the bar's open. So first of all, how have you been? How is everything going? And maybe even some thoughts, just a general overview on the elections, things that are going on politically. Some of your thoughts that are on what's going on here in the state.
Yeah, I'm really here to advocate for our Florida's great election system. We are leading the nation in election integrity, and I want to make a shout out to former Senate President Wilton Simpson, who's here today, who teamed up with Governor DeSantis in 2022 to pass the most robust election reform bill in the country, so that our goal is every eligible vote is cast, and everyone can vote. So what I want to say, I want to tell people that there's a misperception that voting by mail is not safe. I can tell you right now, it is safe, it's secure, and if you really don't feel like going to the polls, you have till the end of today to cast your vote by mail ballot. Other than that, we have a program, and you can show up on election day. We have some tremendous initiatives that we have in Florida law, and I want you all to know about it. Voting in Florida is safe, it's secure, and so I encourage everybody to trust Florida's system.
It is something that, it's a round of applause. You can round of applause that, absolutely. But there is something to be said about that, right? Because here we go again. It is the state of Florida leading. It's the state of Florida that gets it done. Far too often, I was reading some of the numbers yesterday about some of the states, for example, that the numbers of people that will be out there voting are a lot less than we are. But for some reason, there seems to be this struggle getting it done on time, or what happens with the questions about mail-in ballots. And it's a funny thing how we do it here in Florida. They don't say those kind of things about us here, do they?
Florida really leads the country in pretty much everything. Our economy is just booming. We have probably the most robust economy in the country. We had a great session last session. We passed some really meaningful legislation. We've got a great budget. We've got a great legislature, and particularly a great governor who will be here shortly.
Yeah, no doubt. Senator Passidomo, speaking of which, are there some things that you're thinking about now, looking back? Because obviously we always want to look forward, because there's a lot of good things that are coming looking forward. I believe that in just a couple of days, as a matter of fact. But having said that, even looking back in some of the things that the legislature was able to do, and some of the things that maybe you're very proud of and want to speak to directly?
Yeah, we passed so many important pieces of legislation. I had three really important initiatives. One was a groundbreaking, state-of-the-art, probably the first in the country bill to address workforce housing. As I look around this venue, I see a lot of young people. Don't you want to be able to live here in the city of Fort Myers or close to where you work? So the bill that we passed is going to make that more doable to provide workforce housing for our young workers. We also did an amazing health care package, which is really important because people are coming from all over the country to Florida, and they can't bring their doctors with them, and there aren't enough medical personnel in our state. So the bill that we passed is going to create more medical personnel to serve our Florida residents, and I'm really proud of that. And lastly, but not least, was an expansion of the wildlife corridor that President Simpson championed back when he was president. And now we're looking at a whole rural initiative to help the rural communities in Florida to thrive economically. And that's going to be probably, of the next 50 years, one of the greatest things that we will have done in the state of Florida.
Yeah. And so now we take a look back, and we hear a couple of things that are going on into the future, some of the goals, some of the things that you look forward to.
Yeah, as you all know, my term as Senate President ends in about, a week, right after the election. But I intend to stay in the Senate for another 2 years to work with my successor, President-designate Ben Albritton, who's a farmer. So he's got some really cool ideas on how to continue to protect our farmland and ranch land. And I'm looking forward to working with him in that regard. And we're calling it the Heartland Initiative. And so stay tuned for that.
And before we go, I'd have to ask about some of your constituents, people that you've talked to, and as we opened up the show and we talked about Milton making its way through, and like I said, I could not believe how many tornadoes were touching down around the state. I've talked to many people across the state about the issues of Milton and what has been happening, and still, some of the concerns in certain areas as we are statewide, as we talk to people in Tampa and Sarasota and other regions, other areas across the state. Maybe you can speak to even in with your constituents in the area, in Collier and around, and your thoughts on the resiliency and the pickup after all of this.
Yeah, I was listening to Commissioner Ruane and Representative Persons Malika. We have the most resilient community here in Southwest Florida, in the entire state, and the whole state has become resilient. Everybody I talked to that went through Ian and then went through Helene and then had to go through Milton is saying, okay, I got it. I know what to do. I even told Commissioner Simpson a few minutes ago that I lost my house in Ian. This time I had water, but I said, what the hell, I'm going to clean it up myself. And I did. And we will come back stronger and better. You've got great leadership in this community. And, I look forward to seeing how Southwest Florida shapes up over the next couple of years. That will be a huge topic this legislative session, because unfortunately it's going to cost a lot of money. But we have a really good economy, and we're going to take it in hand.
Senator Kathleen Passidomo, everybody, nice round of applause. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for being here. Florida's Voice. We are live downtown Fort Myers. How about this? For those that may or may not know me and how long I've been doing radio and the hours that I was doing radio, and many people around the state are learning that for the longest time I had a morning show, and I didn't get to see this whole the sun coming up it's a new thing. It's a new concept for me as we do the show live each and every day, 3 to 6 p.m. with Florida's Voice, and so many great affiliates who have been joining, and we do appreciate it so much. So this is an awesome thing. It's a very odd thing to do a show with sunglasses on. So I kind of like this. I might do it at the house. My wife might not like it too much, but that's okay. I kind of like the glasses thing. It's nice. All right. For those that don't know, if you want to watch, anytime you want to watch the program, flvoicenews.com, Florida's Voice, you can go there and you'll see my mug without glasses. And then you just click on the mug, and there you go. You can go to any of our social media sites there. You've got YouTube you can watch. With that click, you can go to @FLVoiceNews, and you can watch on YouTube. You can watch on Rumble and X. And we always appreciate you stopping by and check out the show. All right, so coming up in just a little bit, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back from the break, a lot to get to. Soon, Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson is going to be joining us. A nice round of applause live right here on the stage, and also listen, I'm gonna have to play some audio from Kamala Harris yesterday in the CNN town hall. Is that all right if I play just a little bit of audio just so you can see? Well, I know it hurts, but I have to play some of it because it's hard to believe that the party who is all about democracy and is concerned about threats to democracy is the same party that said, hey, the Joe Biden guy, can we move that guy out and put somebody else in because we're not really sure that this guy could win an election. That doesn't seem like democracy to me, but I don't know. What do I know? I'm also not a Democrat in any way, shape, or form, or a big lefty, so for that, there's always that going on. All right, once again, we are live downtown Fort Myers, Bay Street Yard, and we do appreciate everybody stopping by, grabbing some free food and drink. When we come back, we will have Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson and so much more live, Bay Street Yard. This is Florida's Voice.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families, and one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Hello, this is Earl Nightingale for Soundcheck Studios. Have you ever wondered how jingles are made?
Together we'll make America great again. We'll make it great. Together we'll make America great again. We'll make America great. Together we'll make America great again. We'll make it great.
How would you like to have a custom jingle made for your political campaign? Soundcheck Studios can make the perfect jingle for you right now. For information on campaign music, call Soundcheck Studios at 239-340-0515. That's 239-340-0515. Soundcheck Studios can make the perfect jingle for you right now. Call Soundcheck Studios at 239-340-0515.
America great again. We'll make it great.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
Hey, you got this. Just breathe. Hey. We're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Radical anti-hunting forces are working to ban fishing and hunting across the country. These extreme attacks on our heritage must be met. Thankfully, the International Order of T. Roosevelt is fighting back as the nation's premier organization defending our rights to fish and hunt. This April, you can step into the arena with us and join our fight in Naples, Florida. Join us at the historic Ritz-Carlton Tiburon and hear from world-class speakers including Tucker Carlson. The annual event is the best place for conservationists, anglers, hunters, and all those who want to protect the outdoors to come together, build strategies to protect our rights, and expand opportunities in the future for generations to come. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. You don't want to miss this event.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with a game-changing offer for those ready to master their retirement journey. Look, we're going to navigate unpredictable waters in 24, an election year marked by financial uncertainty. It's crucial. You've got to have expert guidance. That's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. The Southwest Florida Certified Financial Planner Professional, Alfie brings unparalleled experience and insight to the table. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, it's not just a guide. It's your strategic compass for navigating the financial seas with confidence. Look, with decades of experience, Alfie has created a powerful roadmap. It'll help you chart your course and make meaningful waves in your retirement. And for a limited time, you can get your hands on this book free. That's right, no cost. The book is more than just a collection of stories. It's a blueprint for achieving a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. So don't miss out. Text book to 239-747-1080 right now. Let's book to 239-747-1080 and claim your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently steer towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
And today, Florida's Voice is live downtown Fort Myers. We are at Bay Street Yard, downtown Fort Myers, one of the many live shows that Florida's Voice will be doing and in the future as we get the opportunity to hang out with so many great people in the state. And I'll tell you what, it is a great turnout. First of all, how is everybody doing? Everybody good right now? You all good today? It's a beautiful day. I don't know. First of all, I don't know what they do here at Bay Street Yard, exactly how they do this on the stage, but I'm not kidding. Like, I'm cold. I hate to say this. This is going to be really weird. And my wife, if she's listening, she's probably like, don't say it, don't say it. I'm almost cold up here. Like, there's a chill up here, and it's awesome. And it's just, the weather could not be better. And it's great that we have the opportunity to do this. Anytime you want to watch, flvoicenews.com, that's Florida's Voice. You can go to the website and check out any of the social media platforms as well to watch at FL Voice News on YouTube, Rumble, and X. We do appreciate it. And the Agriculture Commissioner of the great state of Florida is Wilton Simpson, and he's sitting right here, ladies and gentlemen. Nice round of applause for Wilton Simpson today. How are you, sir?
Good to be here.
You know, I have to say what we were talking about off the air, I got to say on the air, because it's, you know, I hate to say it sometimes, but some of the best conversations are always off the air. It's always fun and candid, and you have a good time. And I always think to myself, you know, we want to talk about that on the air. And in this case, I think it's a perfect example of how I wonder if, because I sense this with not just people that I know, but also other people who have been saying it. And I wonder if you see the same thing, where there are people who have been told for the longest time that they are on the left or they're moderate. You know, their values, maybe, we'll put it that way. And for some reason, they've always been told and they're convinced. And then life happens. And then things go on in the world. And stuff happens like inflation. And things happen like, I don't understand, do we have a sovereign border or not? And all these things. And then next thing you know it, you start to realize, and especially on the inflation thing, it's like, hey, I'm not really sure I'm more along the lines of what Drew Steele has been talking about or Wilton Simpson's been talking about than the people that have been talking to me in the past. You know what I mean? We were talking about that. It's like, I think more and more people are starting to realize they're more conservative than they thought they were.
There is no question about that, Drew. And, you know, there's a saying, I think it goes something like, if you're 20 years old and don't have liberal thinking, you don't have a heart. If you're 30 years old and not a conservative, you don't have a brain. and so I think that probably applies here.
I would put that on a shirt, but I think it'd have to go all the way. Although it would be fun to have people read the back of the shirt as well as the front. That would be a good thing. So listen, I can't start the day today without asking you about this, because we've talked about this a couple of times. My concern about some of the stories I'm hearing and worried about the impact that the storm has had on farmers. And if you would just let people know here and maybe talk a little bit more about that after the two storms here through the state, how we're doing, the impacts, and what we're looking at right now into the future.
Well, it's a tragic story, but your farmer, we have a resilient state, and, you know, farmers are a very resilient part of this. And when you think about the three major hurricanes that hit the Panhandle area, the Big Bend area has decimated our aquaculture in that area. We're the second leading clam producer in the country. And in Cedar Key, I visited there a couple days ago. It's been decimated. They are getting back on their feet. We're going to be working with those folks. Strawberry folks right here in Central Florida got hit horribly bad just with Milton. And so they're getting back on their feet. We're going to have a great fresh from Florida strawberry season this year, and we're really looking forward to supporting all of our farmers. But you can go down the list. Dairies got hit, the beef industry got hit, a lot of flooding, a lot of fences down, and so we're working all over the state. We've got some great programs thanks to the legislature, our 0% loan programs that we've initiated, and some of our cost share programs, so we're able to operate in real time. But it's important to know that your farmers have been hurting just like everyone else, but we are getting back on our feet.
Yeah, and I think it's important that people, you know, understand and remember what not only how so many people were affected by the storms, but some of the things that we quite honestly maybe sometimes take for granted, you know, the agriculture that we have here in the state. And I think to a point, people do that because they know how resilient we've been in the past. Like we know that storms have come through, and we've come through after the fact. You know, you could speak to that too.
Yeah, sure. Well, what most folks don't know is agriculture is the second leading driver of the economy. So 2.5 million people today are going to work in agriculture, over $200 billion a year in economic output. And so it is a major force behind the economy of the state of Florida. But the reality is we need a farmer 3 times a day. We all have to eat our food and fiber. We all here should know that food security is national security. Your agriculture, if you're looking to regulate, tax, do things to your agriculture industry, it needs to be looked through the lens of national security. And when I mean that, think about this. If there were just 7 days of no groceries in the grocery store, you'd have chaos in this country. In 30 days, people would be starving to death. So agriculture is not only a leading driver of the economy, but also critical piece of infrastructure to our nation. Think about, we are now a net importer of food into this nation. Think about a major world war. Think about another pandemic where we're more vulnerable. We have to protect our farmers, including our small farmers.
Yeah, but you know, Commissioner Simpson, you know, we really don't have to worry about that too much, because as long as we have lab-grown meat, everybody will be just fine. I'm sorry. I can't even say it with a straight face. I'm sorry, because we've had this conversation before. Is somebody booing? Are you booing lab-grown meat? Good for you. Whoever booed, that's a nice thing. So, you know, we were half joking about this the other day because there were people now overseas in these articles. Remember the article that I was talking about? I think it was Reuters that put out this article that basically said, yeah, the whole lab-grown meat thing is really disgusting. I can't believe we thought of doing this to begin with, and we got to trash this whole idea. And this is Reuters who was writing about this, like, yeah, we got to stop. And then the worst part about it is, do you remember what I talked about after that? Not just that it's disgusting, but then I want you to sit down. Well, I was going to say, I want you to sit down and get ready for this, but you're already sitting. So good for you. So now the companies, get this, the companies that started the whole lab-grown meat craze and know that nobody wants it and it's disgusting are turning to the government because they want to be bailed out. That is some, well, I don't want to use the word, but you can imagine what kind of people would do that. Be like, you know what? We'll let the taxpayers fix it all. No, we're not doing that. Lab-grown meat. You want to speak to that a little bit?
You know, here in the state of Florida, thanks to our legislature, we did a bill last year to ban the sale or production of lab-grown meat here in the state of Florida. We are not going to allow this to come to our state. We do not know that it's safe.
Yeah. You can applaud that. That's okay. People are like, can I applaud? Yes, you can applaud that.
We do not know that it is safe for our consumers, number one. Number two, we are not going to break down our supply chain with our beef industry. The net zero 2035, 2050 folks are trying to destroy our agriculture industry, the beef industry, the chicken industry, and others industry with lab-grown meat. And what are we talking about? We're going to send you a biomass. You're going to grow it in a petri dish, and then you're going to use your 3D printer to stamp out the piece of meat you want. Yeah, we're not going to do that here in the state. We have a very thriving beef industry. We have about 1 million head of cattle in the state today, and we're going to rely on good old-fashioned hoof-grown beef in this state, and we are not going to allow California companies to come here with this product. By the way, after we passed the ban, they are now suing my office. They asked a lower court judge to intervene to stay the case until it was decided. Of course, they sided with the Department of Agriculture. I suspect this is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. We will win this case in the end, and we're going to protect our consumers and protect our supply chain here in the state of Florida.
I don't know, maybe the lower court judge was like, is that gross stuff in the petri? Yeah, I don't want to have, we got to talk about that. Yeah, I don't know. There's always that. You know, and the other thing I wanted to ask you is something that I've been talking about a lot because you have the amendment process that's going on here in the state. We're going to get into a lot of what has been going on the negative side, certainly with Amendment 3 and 4 coming up today, because it's an important thing to keep discussing right up to the moment that we that we have the election and election day, because listen, one of the responsibilities that everybody has right now that's listening to the sound of my voice, whether you're listening on the radio, whether you're listening in streaming live, or whether you're here in person, I hate to break this to you, but you know a lot more than people maybe around the neighborhood know when it comes to amendments and the process and what is going on politically. And you have a responsibility to talk to people when they're asking about, for example, I don't know, Amendment 2, and they don't know what it is. And hopefully you all are aware of what Amendment 2 is and why you should vote yes on Amendment 2. It's one that maybe you haven't talked about with friends and family, but why don't we talk about it right now?
Thank you, Drew. And yeah, and just to speak to 3 and 4, just initially, I spoke with the governor several weeks ago. The governor's doing a great job fighting Amendment 3 and 4. We need to give him a lot of credit for that. Yep. We had a small part in that. I helped fund part of the ads that you're seeing on TV today. And we're working very closely with the governor's team to make sure that we kill these 2 amendments. Amendment 2, by the way, is the hunting and fishing amendment. The legislature put this on the ballot this year, and if we want to protect our way of life, if we want to protect our wildlife, if we want to protect our fisheries, if we want to protect the wildlife corridor that Senator President Passidomo spoke about just a few moments ago, we need to pass Amendment 2 to protect not only our way of life today on hunting and fishing, but it's for future generations. It's for our grandkids' grandkids. And I think now we have the opportunity to pass this amendment, put it in the Constitution, and make sure that we preserve our ecosystem and our way of life.
Yeah, and the 2 things, yes, you can applaud that, that's okay. I keep interrupting all the applause. I've got to stop doing that. I've got to wait for you to do it. Okay. The 2 things that I would bring up as well, the first point is, please, please, please don't think that there are not outside forces looking at the state of Florida and thinking to themselves, hey, how can we come into this state and change things, because they're not fans of what's going on, because of the great work that we are doing through the legislature and the governor. There's no doubt about it. And then the second part is, and maybe you can speak to this too, because I think everybody has those times in their lives and those moments that they remember. And I just have to tell you, I know for a fact that when I take my son out and we go bass fishing, I know what doesn't happen. You know what doesn't happen when I'm out with my son bass fishing? There's no electronic devices. There's no scrolling. He's not sitting there doing this. He doesn't do that anyway. But he wouldn't be doing it because we're fishing. We spend time together. You take that out of the equation. How would you not want to make sure that that is something that we're going to be able to do uninhibited by somebody who wants to come in, some anarchist who wants to come in the state to change everything around? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, there are several states that either are trying to pass constitutional amendments to ban certain hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
There are very liberal groups around the country that would love to restrict hunting and fishing, and they are in other states. This is what we're protecting ourselves about. We've got a great governor that now we have a great legislature, and we're doing a great job here in Florida. We're very resilient. We're very conservative here in the state of Florida. It may not always be that way. That's why it's very important, if you value this way of life, a conservative way of life, ecological way of life, making sure that we take care of our wildlife corridor, make sure we take care of our forests and streams, you should vote yes on Amendment 2.
All right, we're going to get ready to take a break. Can you stick around for a couple of more minutes? Is that okay? Because I have some other things that I want to ask, so I'm glad you're going to be here. So don't go anywhere. Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson is going to hang out for another break. And when we come back, I don't know, I might ask about, what would you say to people who, for some reason politically, are telling others that they're on the fence? Like, I'm not really sure how I'm going to vote. I'm undecided. I'm sorry. Every time somebody tells me I'm undecided, I have a thought on that. I would like to get your thoughts on that maybe when we come back in just a little bit, because that to me is funny in a lot of different ways. But we'll get to that coming up in just a second. Once again, we are live at Bay Street Yard in Southwest Florida is where we are, as this show, Florida's Voice with Drew Steele, is statewide. We are broadcasting right now live here, and in just a little bit we'll come back with those questions, a lot more. We've got the Governor Ron DeSantis coming up in just a little bit as well. And anytime you want to watch the program, you go to flvoicenews.com. That's Florida's Voice. You can go to any of the social media platforms as well, whether it's YouTube, Rumble, X. We are there. and we'll be back live coming up in Bay Street Yard, downtown Fort Myers. This is Florida's Voice.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, honey bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow. You sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I like a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
And we are on the road today. We are downtown Fort Myers. We are in the southwest Florida area, Bay Street Yard to be exact, downtown Fort Myers, as the show is live. And we've got a fantastic audience hanging out with us. And we've got a lot going on this morning. We've got a couple of more minutes with the Agriculture Commissioner, Wilton Simpson, who's been joining us on Florida's Voice, and we appreciate him stopping by. Of course, he's very busy. There's a lot going on. And so before the break, I kind of I posited this question. Is that the right way to say it? I said, I thought it was funny how there are people, even on the CNN town hall, last night, that they are saying things like, there's still people that are undecided. There's still people that don't know what. Really? You really don't know who you're going to vote for, right? Is that what it is? It seems to me that it's more like, how do I vote for Donald Trump and maybe not tell my friends necessarily, because I can't have a country going on like this anymore. And and I know it's just a disaster what's going on with the Democrat Party. But if you had to say to somebody, or maybe even Floridians, what do you say to them if somebody says, well, I'm on the fence, I don't know, I'm not really sure? What do you say to them?
Yeah, Drew, this is one of these softballs we get every once in a while. So think if you're on the fence today and you say, hey, there were 12 million illegal aliens come across our border in the last 3 years, gang members, rapists, murderers, and we have this affecting our country every day. 100,000 people a year dying of fentanyl coming across that southern border. President Trump will shut that down. There's no decision to make here. You either want that border shut down and secure, or you don't. Think about the amount of inflation that has been put in this economy in the last 3 years from the incompetence of the Harris and Biden administration. You either want to get this economy back under control or you don't. This is a very easy decision. In Florida, we love our law enforcement. We take care of our law enforcement here in the state of Florida and you've heard all the things, the bonuses, the laws that we pass. If you harm one of our law enforcement officers, your ass is going to jail. And so when you think about us as a state, if you want a more secure Florida than we have today, you have to have a more secure country. To have a more secure country, you got to have Donald J. Trump back in the White House.
Yeah. There were some numbers that were even dropping. I was looking at some of these numbers and these reports about Republicans winning early in-person voting, again, 2-1, picking up so many different ballots across the state. They're starting to hear of an unheard cycle, this presidential cycle, when it comes to Republicans. And again, I think it just speaks to when somebody says, yeah, I'm not really sure, I'm undecided. You're decided. You don't want more of the same. You just have to make sure you do the right thing if you're on the left. And, I'll give you the last word on this again, how important in so many ways, up and down, and even what we were talking about off the air, that it's good governance, not just here in the state, but also on a federal level that's going to help to make things right across the board.
Well, I've been here. My first president I could vote for, by the way, was Ronald Reagan in 1984. And what a great president he was also. President Trump has done a tremendous job for this country. President Trump will shut our border down. He will get the economy back the way he had it prior to the Harris and Biden administration. When you think about 4 more years and 12 million more people coming in this country, how many more Americans have to die of fentanyl overdoses before we get it? How many more people have to be raped, murdered, and crimes committed on their families before we get it? How many more people have to be terrorized in their communities by all of these immigrants moving in before we get it? So I think this is our election, and we're going to get it done.
You bet. Wilton Simpson, everybody, live here on Florida's Voice. And we are downtown Fort Myers today at Bay Street Yard.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Some things on your ballot are complicated and some are simple, like Amendment 2, the right to fish and hunt. Amendment 2 is a bipartisan, common-sense measure supported by conservationists, environmentalists, and sportsmen as a humane way to manage Florida's wildlife, protect its natural resources, and promote environmental leadership. So whether you want to protect our environment or our traditions, Amendment 2 is for you. Remember, Amendment 2 is a bipartisan, common-sense measure supported by conservationists, environmentalists, and sportsmen as a humane way to manage Florida's wildlife, protect its natural resources, and promote environmental leadership. If you want to protect our environment or our traditions, Amendment 2 is for you. Paid political advertisement paid for by Vote Yes on Amendment 2, 2640A, Mitcham Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32308.
listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele. Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Congratulations on your show.
Congratulations on your new show. Big deal, huh?
That's why shows like yours are so important.
We have an independent county elected sheriff that's the head of law enforcement in Jacksonville/Duval County. And I know how to work toward making this city safe.
We can't be shy about speaking on things such as faith and politics. We have to remember, in a free society, the public square belongs to all of us.
I'm not interested in North Florida looking like Orlando or Miami. I love where we live, but I think that good jobs means that people that live in this district can stay in this district.
Fishing and hunting is funding a large part of your conservation projects in Florida, and we want to make sure that those are forever preserved.
And the problem with this industry at this point is that they actually target our youth. You can see it in their marketing strategies, where it's bright colors, fun names.
And that's going to be endlessly litigated.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with an offer that can help steer your retirement in the right direction. Look, we're going to navigate the turbulent waters of 24 with its financial uncertainties and shifting tides. Having expert guidance is more crucial than ever, and that's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. As Southwest Florida's certified financial planner professional, Alfie brings expert knowledge and insight. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, isn't just a guide. It's your navigational compass for mastering the financial seas. With decades of experience, Alfie has crafted a powerful roadmap to help you chart your course and make impactful waves in your retirement. Look, for a limited time, you can claim your free copy of this valuable guide. That's right, no cost. This book is more than just pages. It's your blueprint for a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. Don't let this opportunity drift by. Text book to 239-747-1080. That's book to 239-747-1080. Look, secure your free copy today, and let's make 24 the year you confidently navigate towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
I've been dipping snuff for well over 30 years. You know, I could wake up in the morning and have a weird lump in my gums. Guess it's like playing Russian roulette, really. I would love grandchildren. And if by quitting it extends my life some, I would gladly lay it down.
Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com to find free resources to help you quit your way.
Today, push harder, push forward, push vigorously.
There are things that I am hiding from people that I'm trying to inspire.
You can do whatever you set your mind to.
I feel like a hypocrite a lot of the times.
Don't give up on yourself ever.
Smoking, I hide it because I'm ashamed of it. I want to get out of the shadow. I want to show people there is light away from the darkness. I am going to quit.
Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com to find free resources to help you quit your way.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Radical anti-hunting forces are working to ban fishing and hunting across the country. These extreme attacks on our heritage must be met. Thankfully, the International Order of T. Roosevelt is fighting back as the nation's premier organization defending our rights to fish and hunt. This April, you can step into the arena with us and join our fight in Naples, Florida. Join us at the historic Ritz-Carlton Tiburon and hear from world-class speakers including Tucker Carlson. The annual event is the best place for conservationists, anglers, hunters, and all those who want to protect the outdoors to come together, build strategies to protect our rights, and expand opportunities in the future for generations to come. Visit iotr.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. You don't want to miss this event.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Thank you for waking us all up out here. For all you do.
Thank you for giving us a voice.
For being out there helping keep the constitutional republic. I want to thank you for
your support for veterans in the military.
Educating us.
Standing up for conservatism.
Giving us the truth.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Well, hey, Florida. Hey, how's it going out there? How's everybody doing? Y'all doing okay today here downtown Fort Myers? We were in the southwest Florida area of the state, as of course we are statewide here on Florida's Voice. We're at Bay Street Yard, downtown Fort Myers, and it is an amazing place. How about a nice round of applause for Bay Street Yard? How amazing this place is, right? It's just incredible. And anytime you want to watch, you can go to flvoicenews.com, Florida's Voice. You can go to our social media at FL Voice News on YouTube and Rumble and X. You certainly can watch. And right now you're watching, sitting next to me, the founder of Florida's Voice. Here he is. It's Brendan Leslie, everybody. Nice round of applause for Brendan.
Hello, Fort Myers. I know you guys don't want to hear us talk, so I'm just going to cut to the chase and bring in the man of the hour, who is joining us now on Florida's Voice Radio with Drew Steele, here live at Bay Street Yard. Give your biggest, loudest, and warmest welcome for the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis.
Good morning, Southwest Florida. This is Chamber of Commerce weather today.
Yeah, we planned it this way, Governor. We do that around here. We planned those things.
I feel so bad. I feel like every time you do a live hit, the sun is just beaming on you, and you're always in a nice suit.
I'm used to it. It's born and raised in Florida. That's just what we do. And, you know, we do have this weekend FSU against Miami, which used to be, you know, when I was growing up, that was like the top of the top. And Miami's really good. Florida State has struggled, let's just say that, this year. My son, I have a first grade son, and he's a diehard Florida State fan, and he has not been happy with the season. But he's really excited about the game. And I was like, who do you want to win? Florida State. I was like, now who do you think is going to win? And he has a different answer because I think he's kind of wise to the ways of the world. So we'll see what happens this weekend.
I'm just thinking about that conversation, like how you do that. How do you sit down with them and just like explain to it? Like, you can't do it now. You can't explain to it. Like,
well, we got from the point, the beginning of the season against Georgia Tech, we actually went to Dublin for that game. And any time there was something bad that happened, you know, he'd start crying. And I tell Buddy, you can't cry, you can't do. And then so he got through that game. And then they played Boston College at home. And that ended poorly, and he started crying. I was like, guys, so now he just rolls with it. He knows, like, you're not going to necessarily get good, so no more crying, and just be happy to be there, I guess.
I can definitely hang out with him because I cry. I cry when the teams lose, so he can hang out with me anytime. We'll cry together. So there are a lot of things to discuss today, a lot of important subjects. But if you don't mind, if you'll indulge me for just 1 second, because there's something I've always wanted to ask you. I grew up in New York, and as I grew up in New York, as I started to hang out with friends, I realized that I don't agree with you hardly at all, like, especially just in life. I'm not even talking politically. I'm talking even before I was politically motivated in any way. Just the way people were. It was just strange. And then as I moved to the state of Florida, and I would talk to more people here, and I could relate more. And I would call, just a little inside Drew Steele baseball, I would call Bill O'Reilly on his show all the time. Like he would take my call and he would send me books. It was almost like, okay, that's fine, goodbye. Because I found somebody that I felt like Rush, that I could agree with, that I felt like I have a home, like I get this, right? So it was kind of like that moment. And then 9/11 happened, and then that was the moment where I decided, listen, I am never, ever, ever going to be disconnected from politics ever again. That's it. I'm going to be deep in it. I want to know every detail. Was there a moment in your life when you knew, like, you were conservative, or even that you wanted to serve the people, or like something specific that happened in your life? Was there a moment?
You know, it's interesting. I think back growing up in Florida, like playing baseball, friends, family, like I didn't know who was a Republican or a Democrat at all back then. I just didn't. I mean, it wasn't an issue. But I was, you know, in a certain community where like my friends, their families with church, we went to church, we did all this, played sports, did that. And then when I went from Dunedin, Florida, to Yale University, I got to experience leftism. And I had never seen that before. Like literally, people hated America. They said it was America's fault, that there was the Cold War. There were more communists on the faculty at Yale and Harvard at the time than in all of Eastern Europe. And so, you know, you just had this. It was really, really crazy. And I'm like, no way. That is absolutely not for me. And so, you know, there's a worry that like, hey, the kids are going to these universities and they're indoctrinating, and you as a parent can work 18 years to kind of get them in a good spot, then they can go and can all be wiped away. And I do think that happens. For me, though, it was a total opposite. Like, I totally rebelled against that nonsense. I knew that the left was a big problem. And sure enough, fast forward today, look around. Look at San Francisco, Chicago. Look at these places, California, New York, people fleeing there, Illinois, Minnesota, under Waltz. People come to Southwest Florida from there. What is the common theme? Leftism. Leftist ideology put into practice and really destroying cities, communities, and states. So I think I saw that at an early age. It was not appetizing for me to see that. And it wasn't necessarily thought I was going to be involved in running for anything, but just certainly from a perspective of, man, there are really people in this country that think this way, and that's not something that I wanted to sign up for.
And something the left...
Oh, by the way, in Florida, you actually can go to universities and have education, not indoctrination. You know, we've worked very hard, and we're still working hard. But we have, all tenured professors have to go review every 5 years and can be let go for poor performance. No one else in the country has done that. We're recruiting in scholars who want to teach and not indoctrinate. And you look at a place like New College in Sarasota, what's gone on there. So I think we're the only state in the country that's really addressed head-on the issue of higher ed and the problems that people have seen with higher ed over the years. We're actually working to remedy that. But it's not just, complain about it. You actually got to do things, and we've done a lot.
Speaking of the left trying to infiltrate, and we want to keep them out of here in Florida, they are trying to push Amendment 4. I'm just going to cut right to it. Tell us why it's evil and why we need to make sure that we beat it at the ballot box.
Well, first of all, if you read it, I mean, I actually bring these amendments. If you read it, it's very innocuous. They don't define anything. One of the things that concerned us as we started looking at this, there were people that are pro-life that thought this was pro-life because of the way it's written. This is poll-tested language. It should not have been on the ballot. The Supreme Court split 4-3, but if you don't even define what people are voting on, then it shouldn't be on. So we were disappointed that happened. But what does it do? There's no definitions, and so it'll basically put the destiny of Florida in the hands of a liberal judge somewhere that they'll run into. It has no meaningful limits on abortion at all. They basically allow non-physicians to greenlight abortions up until the moment of birth. That is more liberal than even California and New York has. It also eliminates parental consent for minors. So in Florida, we have parental consent for everything involving medical. So they can't give your kid a Tylenol in school without parental consent. But somehow the Constitution will mandate that your minor child can go with a non-physician and have an abortion in the 9-month. That will be in the Constitution of the state of Florida. Now, they do a bait and switch on that because they say nothing should prevent notification. Understand, notification is not the same as consent. Notification could be they can call, hey, you just want to let you know your kid's here, this is what's going to happen, but the parent would not have any agency over that decision. So it's actually the first constitutional amendment ever been proposed that repeals rights, because it repeals the rights of parents. And then this idea of, so, look, a lot of people are pro-life, a lot of people aren't. And I know people on all sides of the issue. The people that tend to not be pro-life, at least in terms of legal protections, is they say, well, look, we just don't want legal protections for the unborn child. We just want it to be the mother and the physician and let them to make the decision. Amendment 4 does not do that. Amendment 4 says a healthcare provider gets to make that decision to greenlight an abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. A healthcare provider is not a physician. So this will, as a matter of constitutional right, this will give a right to non-physicians to be doing the abortion. There's not a single state in the country that would allow that. So you want to talk about basic safety? I mean, we've got a lot of regulations in medical for safety. This is a radical departure from that. So non-physicians greenlighting abortion up till birth. And then it's not in here, but this will happen because they did something similar in Michigan. This is all being pushed by the far left. They went into Michigan after it passed, and they said, they go to a liberal judge, and they say, you have to dedicate taxpayer funds for the abortions. Because look, it's a right. You can't delay, you can't penalize, so you have to fund it with tax dollars. So that will happen in Florida. They will go into court, and they will seek, and they will get a liberal judge to say that your tax dollars have to go to this. The result would obviously be, overall the amendment, fewer rights for parents. It would add another 40,000 abortions a year in Florida. We already have thousands a month, even under our Heartbeat Protection Act, depending on, despite what some of the things say. So this would be a massive expansion of that. And then we would, because of being in the Southeast, we would be the #1 abortion tourist destination in America, because from Texas to Georgia, they'd be recruiting people to come here. And you'd have clinics without physicians manning the station. So it's a really bad amendment. Terrible policy. Even regardless of what side on the abortion debate you are, no one would say that you should have no limits. No one would say that non-physicians should be spearheading this process. No one should say parents shouldn't have their rights respected, and yet that's exactly what they would do. The good news is as people find out about that, the support does go down. But man, they've spent a lot of money basically just telling lies, and they never talk about their amendment. They always just talk about things in Florida which are not true. So the more people do it, I think that the more opposition builds.
Governor, you know you're among a lot of like-minded people in a nice red town when you have, 300 people here against Amendment 4, and then you got the one protester screaming outside. One protester somewhere outside. But we got a lot of people here that are thinking just like you, and what infuriated me most about Amendment 4 and the left's tactics is when they put out all these advertisements, they just lie about what our current law on the books does. There's no exceptions, can't do this, the mothers are gonna die. Talk to that about their lies.
Yeah, so they are running against provisions of law that don't exist in Florida. They're not running against the actual protections. So Florida, you have abortion up until the time there's a heartbeat, with exceptions for rape, incest, life of the mother, health of the mother, and victims of human trafficking. So there would never be anything a physician would need to do to provide care for a woman that would be prohibited at all in Florida law. It's basically like, okay, you have an unborn child, there's a detectable heartbeat, pretty soon they can feel pain. Is it okay to just flush it out? Is there any rights that they would have or not? But all those instances, which are very small number overall, all of those are not implicated by Florida law, and that's just the reality. Now, they're obviously saying the other opposite because they know that is the only way they can get this passed. If people had a good sense of what the law is, you know, a lot of people think that's reasonable, and you don't have to agree with everything, but clearly the law is what it is. The exceptions are what they are. So I think that's very telling, because they don't want to talk about what their thing actually does.
You know, I think, Governor, that my take on especially 3 and 4 is, number one, you know, there are people that are being duped. They're being lied to. And sometimes with the left, you see this kind of, hey, listen, I don't mind as long as it's the same team. Like, you can say all the most horrible things about that candidate, or you can say anything you want about these amendments. But at the end of the day, Governor, I just want it. You know, like almost like with Amendment 3, it has this feeling like, Governor, come on now, it's 2024. You have to get with it. Get with what?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, so this is amending the Constitution.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to vote, your default should be no on amending the Constitution, right? They should have to really show you why this is good. And if you want to talk about Amendment 3, I think before you vote, first of all, it's a terribly written amendment, but you should actually read the text, because this is not on your ballot. They do a summary, which is not an accurate reflection of what this will actually do. So what is Amendment 3? Understand where this is coming from. It's coming from one big weed corporation. The amendment was literally written by the CEO of the corporation. How much has that corporation put in to trying to get this passed? $100+ million. So, and this is a publicly traded company on the Canadian Stock Exchange. So a CEO could not do this and satisfy the fiduciary obligation of the shareholders unless that money was being spent and the amendment was drafted to benefit them as a corporation. So the purpose of Amendment 3 is to benefit the big weed cartel. For example, they talk about freedom. Notice in the amendment, if you read it, you will not be allowed to grow your own weed. You have to buy it from them. So they're creating a constitutional cartel that says you can possess and smoke, but only if you buy it from them. If you try to grow your own, then you can't do it, because they're talking about protecting their profits. Here's something else that's in this. And again, this is not in the ballot summary. So they have given themselves, and I don't think this has ever been done in Florida history or American history, they have given themselves total immunity from civil liability for their business practices. And I'm going to read this. Any of these marijuana companies acting in accordance with this section as it relates to acquiring, cultivating, processing, manufacturing, selling, and distributing marijuana products to adults for personal use shall not be subject to criminal or civil liability or sanctions under Florida law. Well, what is that? There's no exceptions to this. If they sell you bogus weed and you sue them, they're going to point to the immunity. If they're distributing, which it says here, and they have a truck full of weed they're bringing to their dispensaries, and they run over some kid, are they going to be subject to liability? Not according. These words matter. This is in your Constitution. You can't unring this bell. We're not going to be able to tweak this with legislation. So this is the biggest corporate power grab. And oh, by the way, freedom, you want to talk about freedom, you have the freedom to live your life in public without having marijuana everywhere. I think that's really important for the quality of life in this state. And so if you actually wanted to do a marijuana amendment for freedom, they would do the opposite of what they're doing here. They would say, whatever you grow on your property and use in your home, none of our business, but you're not allowed to bring marijuana in public. You're not allowed to use it in other areas. This green lights rampant public use of marijuana everywhere. And here's the thing. Colorado has it everywhere, and they actually have prohibitions against public use. There is nothing in this text of the amendment that would allow you to regulate it in public. They did not do it. They did for medical marijuana, incidentally. So you would actually have this odd thing in Florida Constitution where the use of medical marijuana could be limited in public but not recreational. But listen to what they say. They say any use of marijuana, not cultivate, you can't grow your own, you got to buy it from them, but no use of marijuana can be subject to any criminal or civil liability or sanctions of Florida law. So just understand, because I've had some business owners say, well, I'm not going to let people smoke in my restaurant. How are you going to enforce it? They can't face any liability. There's no exceptions for this. That's what it says. A court is going to apply the law and the rule and the words as written. So this is a horribly written amendment. And if you're somebody that likes weed, you should still vote no on it. Obviously, if you don't like it, you should vote no on it. But that's just right there for the taking. And then we should also have the discussion about this is much worse policy than Colorado. This is much worse policy than California. Has it worked out well for Colorado? Do you have people who didn't vote for it who say, I wish I would have voted for it? No, it's the opposite. There are people say, I supported it. I thought it would end the black market. I thought it would do all this. I thought it would give us a lot of money, and I was wrong. And people regret doing it. And you see these commercials saying there's all this money going to go to education and law enforcement. Nothing in this amendment has any money for education. That is just fabricated. They say it's going to be a safe and regulated market. What happened in Colorado? The black market ballooned. Why? Because if you have a regulatory regime, if you tax it, and I don't even know that it would be taxed in Florida, but if you tax it, it raises the price. So the black market can undercut that. It increases use in society dramatically, and the black market expands. So we would have a bigger black market. What about kids? How's it work? You got to be 21 according to this, which obviously you would not authorize for kids. What's happened in California and Colorado? They sell the marijuana gummies packaged like Sour Patch Kids and all this, and it's caused big-time problems. There's an ad right now, an ER doctor from California, saying what she has seen since this happened. So this would not be good policy for the state. And if this were up in the legislature, this would be an easy thing to vote against or veto. But if somehow this got into law and we saw the negative effects, we could tweak it. We could fix it. We've done that on different laws. We're going to do that on some of the condo stuff to iron out some of that. This is forever in the Constitution, and this will change the culture of the state. It will change the quality of life in this state, and it's all because one big weed company is plowing $100 million in, not because they care about you or your freedom, but because they care about themselves, their profits, and their greed. And that is not an appropriate thing to put in a state's constitution. And oh, by the way, if you really want marijuana in Florida, it is actually legal. You just have to get the card. I implemented this as governor. It passed in 2016. My predecessor didn't implement it. I came in, I said, I'm going to implement it. You know, the people voted for it. I had mixed feelings about it, but I'm like, I'm going to implement it. And so you have a lot of people have those cards. I see weed stores every single place I go in Florida as it is. So don't tell me that somehow if somebody needs this or really, really desires it, that they can't get it in Florida. What we've done has worked. It has not ruined the quality of life with what we have with the legal medical, even though I know most of the people who are doing it probably don't actually qualify under the provisions of the state constitution. I know that. But you know what? It hasn't impacted quality of life. This is going to be much different, and it's totally unnecessary, and all you're doing is enriching a company that doesn't give a damn about you.
All right, we've got to go to break. Governor, you can stay for a couple more minutes, right? Okay, fantastic. All right, the governor's going to stick around. We've got to go to a break, and when we come back, we have a whole lot more to talk about. And dare I say, with all the information that you are gaining today, again, you have a responsibility with only days away from this election. It is time for you. Well, we're not allowed to talk about religion and politics. Yes, you are allowed to talk about all of it. This is the time. Don't do that. Get out there and talk to the people that you know and let them know what you know and what you've learned. We'll have more coming up live downtown Fort Myers, Bay Street Yard. This is Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families, and one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Hello, this is Earl Nightingale for Soundcheck Studios. Have you ever wondered how jingles are made?
Together we'll make America great again. We'll make it great. Together we'll make America great again. We'll make America great. Together we'll make America great again. We'll make it great.
How would you like to have a custom jingle made for your political campaign? Soundcheck Studios can make the perfect jingle for you right now. For information on campaign music, call Soundcheck Studios at 239-340-0515. That's 239-340-0515. Soundcheck Studios can make the perfect jingle for you right now. Call Soundcheck Studios at 239-340-0515.
America great again. We'll make it great.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
Hey, you got this. Just breathe. Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Radical anti-hunting forces are working to ban fishing and hunting across the country. These extreme attacks on our heritage must be met. Thankfully, the International Order of T. Roosevelt is fighting back as the nation's premier organization defending our rights to fish and hunt. This April, you can step into the arena with us and join our fight in Naples, Florida. Join us at the historic Ritz-Carlton Tiburon and hear from world-class speakers including Tucker Carlson. The annual event is the best place for conservationists, anglers, hunters, and all those who want to protect the outdoors to come together, build strategies to protect our rights, and expand opportunities in the future for generations to come. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. You don't want to miss this event.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with a game-changing offer for those ready to master their retirement journey. Look, we're going to navigate unpredictable waters in 24, an election year marked by financial uncertainty. It's crucial. You've got to have expert guidance. That's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. The Southwest Florida certified financial planner professional, Alfie brings unparalleled experience and insight to the table. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, it's not just a guide. It's your strategic compass for navigating the financial seas with confidence. Look, with decades of experience, Alfie has created a powerful roadmap. It'll help you chart your course and make meaningful waves in your retirement. And for a limited time, you can get your hands on this book free. That's right, no cost. The book is more than just a collection of stories. It's a blueprint for achieving a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. So don't miss out. Text book to 239-747-1080 right now. It's book to 239-747-1080 and claim your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently steer towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
All right, once again, it's Florida's Voice with Drew Steele. Founder Brendan Leslie from Florida's Voice is here as well. We are live downtown Fort Myers at Bay Street Yard, and we are joined by Governor Ron DeSantis for another couple of minutes. So we have a couple of questions that people wanted to ask. Is that right?
Hey, Governor, we got one more audience question here. We got a South Fort Myers High student, Giovanni. Come on up here. Come on up here.
Giovanni, that's my son's name.
Ask the governor your question. Here you go.
Hello, Governor. My name is Giovanni Patel from South Fort Myers High School Entrepreneurship Academy. I love the boots, by the way. You mentioned education earlier. What would you say in your eyes needs improving or changing in Florida?
Well, thanks. I'm glad you're doing that. It seems like a really good program. I think we just need to continue doing what we're doing. We're not done yet, but if you look at Florida, no one's led better on parental rights in education than we have. No one's led better on education rather than indoctrination. No one's led better on promoting American civics and knowledge of the Constitution. No one's led better on school choice. No one's done better on promoting vocational and technical education, and no one's done better in actually reforming higher ed. None of these things are done. Well, I guess this choice is done because it's universal. You can do it if you want it. And so we're going to continue to do it. But our framework is the right framework, and I want to give students more ability to be able to acquire skills. I want to make sure we're learning the things that really matter. Get the indoctrination out. I mean, obviously that's going to continue to be a struggle just because you got the left that wants to do it. Not appropriate. And so we're going to keep doing it. So expect more good things to come.
All right, we got time for one more audience question, and then we're going to make fun of Kamala, and then the governor needs to get out of here to his next question. Come on up.
Like putting out the lead
tell us your
ahead
name,
of time.
where you're from, and what your question is for the governor.
Good morning, Governor. My name is Leticia Gomez. I'm here in the JROTC Academy and the SEA Academy. My question for you is actually 1 and 2. It's how do you think the military impacted your life, and where do you see the Florida economy going as a young person going to the Air Force, going to the workforce?
Are you gonna join the military?
I thought about it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
Okay,
yeah.
so you would go into college. You won't go to a military academy, but you may do ROTC in college, or what are you thinking?
I would either just go straight to the military workforce, or I would do workforce and then while in the college.
Okay, good. Well, so I can tell you, for me, being an officer in the Navy was positive. I think it was good for discipline, leadership. I obviously got a lot of world experiences because when I was in at the time, I was in Iraq, I was in Gitmo at the detainee facility. I got to do things that I think people of my age typically wouldn't have done, and certainly before 9/11 would not have had an opportunity to do it. So I think it was very positive for me. I met my wife when I was at Naval Station Mayport up in Northeast Florida, and so it was good. Now, I also think the military culture has changed since I was in. I'm concerned about some of the ideology that's being promoted. I'm concerned about some of the wokeness, for lack of a better term. I think that I was concerned when they tried to force the COVID vaxes on the service member long after it was even possibly justified. Because, when you're in the military, they do kind of treat you like a piece of meat. You got to do this, you got to do that. But this mRNA shot was not preventing infections, and a lot of people were concerned about it, and so they kicked a lot of good people out of the military. So I think we need a big change in the leadership, particularly the civilian leadership in the military. And my hope would be recruiting has been very low recently, but I think if you made some major changes, I think you would get a lot of recruits that would want to join. People want to be a part of something that's meaningful. They want to know that what's being done is about defending the country. They don't want to just be a cog in some social experiment. And you are not going to get as many people to want to join. So hopefully that happens. And then in terms of the Florida economy, I mean, look, we've outperformed the nation since I've been governor. I am concerned about and every problem that's happened economically in this country in the last 5 or 6 years has been driven by government policy. Whether it was COVID, whether it was the massive borrowing and spending that's happened since then, whether it's the Fed borrowing and the printing of money, all that has caused interest rates to go up, prices to go up, the whole 9 yards. Now, we have done better because our economy has been strong and we're not immune to the inflation, obviously, and a lot of people have wanted to move to Florida, and so home values have gone up, which made it more difficult to afford homes. So I worry about, we're $35 trillion in debt. We have $1 trillion a year in interest servicing our debt. We have the possibility of having this stuff explode in our face in the not too distant future. Now, I think Florida's positioned to do better than many other states, but I don't think we would be immune for that. So contrast DC, and oh, by the way, it's both parties, because at the turn of the century, the debt was $5.4 trillion. Now it's $35 trillion. From 1789 till 2000, the U.S. racked up $5.4 trillion in debt. Since 2000, they've added another $30 trillion. And it doesn't matter Republican or Democrat. Look in Florida. Since I become governor, all the debt Florida's had from the 1840s to the present, we've paid off 36% of it, and we're likely going to pay off half of it by the time I'm out of office. We have the lowest per capita debt in the country. We have the second lowest per capita state tax burden in the country. No income tax, obviously. We have the lowest number of government employees per capita at the state level. Small government. Lowest cost per capita for our government. So we're doing it right, but we have not been immune from the inflation, and we will not be immune if we have a big meltdown. And I'm not saying I'm predicting it. I'm certainly not hoping for it, but I think at some point somebody is going to have to pay the piper from the recklessness that we've seen out of Washington, D.C.
You can applaud that, yeah.
So we got the governor, Drew, for about 3 more minutes.
Yes.
I figured this would be a good time. Hey, did you guys see Kamala's recent desperate attempt the other day, yesterday?
By the way, because I was telling the governor off air, I was saying, listen, I watch CNN and MSNBC, so he doesn't have to, okay? I'll take it, all right? And then...
one of the issues that we deal with in Florida, as in all states, is, we deal with, helping with mental health. And so if I ever want to see a televised insane asylum, I just turn on MSNBC. and it's really a problem. Kamala, it's interesting. Like, I've never met her. I've never talked to her. I just do my business. So, and people in Southwest Florida know, we had Hurricane Ian. It's like all hands on deck. It's like you're in that emergency, you're doing it. So we had Hurricane Helene. And so it's like, all right, emergency posture, we work on everything. Storm hits, the response, all this stuff, and it was like a lot. And then we have the other storm. Milton is so we had to say, okay, we're going to continue responding to Helene, but we're going to do that. And it's kind of all-consuming, and we take it very seriously. It's not just me, local government, law enforcement, first responders, everything. Like, we really have a positive culture in Florida about responding to these things. So I'm working, to prepare for Milton, busy as hell. It's all-consuming. And then I read online, Harris is mad the governor won't take her phone call. And I'm thinking, first of all, I didn't even know she tried to call me. And then she said that I was being selfish and irresponsible by not calling her. And I'm thinking to myself, in all of our natural disasters that we've had since this administration's been in office, she has never once picked up the phone and done anything. She has never helped in any way, shape, or form. She has no role in this process whatsoever. And I think it's very telling that she thought I should have taken my eye off the ball to prepare our state for a second hurricane in 2 weeks, and I should have focused more on her. You talk about self-indulgent. You talk about arrogant, right there. And honestly, I think it's hurt her in the election because I think people look at it and they say, wait a minute, how can the governor and Biden work together? Obviously, I disagree with him on his policies, and we're working with, Democrat mayors in different parts of the state. Obviously, you don't have as many of those down this far, but there are. And you just do it because people's lives are on the line. And she blunders in to try to make a political issue out of it. I think that showed you all you need to know about her. She is not a leader. She's not somebody that you would want in charge in a crisis situation.
I don't know. Real quick before I get you out of here, do you remember when you and I talked after Hurricane Ian and then the media lost their mind because you called them out on their climate activist agenda? Again, we're seeing it. Bay Street Yard, by the way, shout out. This place was underwater for Milton, and we're here 2 weeks later enjoying this beautiful day and great show with Drew Steele and the governor. But again, Drew, it's again, the governor, it's again, climate change. Every day I'm seeing you talking to a reporter about, climate change, the world's ending. What gives?
So here's the thing, and we have records since 1851, and you can look at seeing the frequency and the strength of hurricanes that have happened. The most powerful hurricane to ever hit the state of Florida hit us in 1935, the Labor Day hurricane, and Ian was big. This was significantly more powerful than Hurricane Ian was. If you look, we had a 10-year period between 2006 and 16. We did not have one single hurricane hit the state of Florida. If you look back historically, sometimes there'll be a lot in a decade, sometimes not as much, and there's basically no discernible trend. That's just the reality. And when they say, Milton, we've never seen a storm like this, look, it's a serious storm. It did damage. I mean, all these storms are serious, but it just shows you that they don't know the history of all this stuff, because if you look, you could see the most deadly storm in Florida history was 1928 in Okeechobee. It killed 4,000 people. Unfortunately, we had significant death in Ian, but we didn't have that, not even close to that. So I just, we live in a tropical part of the world. Having these storms is not something they're not different in kind than what we've seen throughout recorded history. And so I just they have an agenda. Anything that happens, they want to shoehorn that into their agenda. They don't want to acknowledge. And someone, I don't read this stuff, but someone, I think one of my staff, they tried to do a fact check when I'm going through hurricane history. And basically, the media, they were just so wrong about it. And so they had to issue corrections. And what they said was, well, we don't have records of them being, we can't say that they're more intense now because that's not true. You can look back. But some of them are intense for a little bit longer than that, which is, I've never made claims, and I have no idea whether that's true. So they are going to do whatever they can. Here's the thing. What we do in Florida is we focus on things we can control. What I can control is helping with things like fortifying the state, so we have resilient Florida. People can help harden infrastructure, all that. It makes a difference. We do it. We've got a good building code. A lot of our homes are able to withstand significant hurricanes. And then we can handle the preparation and response to the storms. We cannot enact public policy that will eliminate hurricanes. It's just absurd when they start doing it. And we have taken the position on energy. We're going to deliver to you affordable and reliable energy. We don't want rolling blackouts in California. We're not going to do green mandates. And oh, by the way, we've had a huge reduction in carbon emissions in Florida. Anyways, we have the cleanest air in the country, and yet you still have. So, yeah. I mean, I just wish they would stop with their agenda and understand that this is something that we prepare for, we respond to effectively, we will continue to do it, but there is no policy you can enact that's going to make Florida not be susceptible to major weather events. That's just not going to happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Ron DeSantis. Cannot thank him enough for being here. It's great to see you, Governor. Great to see you. Yes. Live, Florida's Voice, downtown Fort Myers. We are in Southwest Florida today. Florida's Voice. We so appreciate everybody coming by. We've still got a lot more to go. Oh, yeah. Hey, you.
Don't go anywhere. We got Tito Ortiz coming up in a few minutes, and we're going to wrap up this show with Senator Jonathan Martin. Free food in the back. let's eat all that food because I don't want to take it home.
I do. All right, anyway, there you go. All right, it is Florida's Voice with Drew Steele. Hey, don't forget, anytime you want to watch the program, very simple. All you have to do is go to any of our social media platforms. That would be FL Voice News on Rumble, YouTube, on X. And anytime you want to check us out, especially locally here in Southwest Florida, a big thank you to 98.9 WGUF Naples FM Talk, who is here in the house with us. Thank you so much. One of our great affiliates, and we love that they are here, and we love that everybody is here hanging out with us as well. Coming up, we will have more with Florida's Voice and a busy cycle going on, including what we have happening with the Democrats and Kamala Harris and what she said last night. Again, like I told the governor, listen, I'll watch CNN and MSNBC, so he doesn't have to. And then we'll play the audio and we'll laugh, we'll cry, we'll hug, we'll do whatever we have to do. Okay, it's Florida's Voice.
You're listening to Voice with Drew Steele.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, honey bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I like a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
All right, we're back. It's Florida's Voice live here downtown Fort Myers at Bay Street Yard. Thanks for hanging out with us. And now hanging out with us, ladies and gentlemen, here's Tito Ortiz, everybody. Tito Ortiz, come on. Tito, what are you doing here? What's going on? It's good to see you today.
We're fighting for America right now.
Yeah, we are.
We got 14 more days. Most important time of our life. Most important time of this history of this country. So much. I just actually came from Mar-a-Lago yesterday. Line of the Sand from James O'Keefe. Phenomenal documentary. Made me cry about halfway through. There's just so much going on the border. I mean, myself coming from Huntington Beach, California, 47 years. I had to leave there. I'm a father of 3 boys. My oldest son, Jacob's 22, Arizona State University. He's set. I have twin boys, Jesse and Journey, who are 15. They go to Ida Baker High School. They wrestle. I'm actually the head wrestling coach there at Ida Baker High School now. But I had to make sure their safety was number one. Ron DeSantis, I love the man. I mean, I respect everything he's done. I've been watching him. It's been on my radar now since 2020. I was in California. We got shut down for the full year. I was in my home every day. So what do? You either play video games or you get online and do research. And I researched the COVID situation, the mask situation, what they were trying to do, and it was all indoctrination. In the schools, it got really bad with my kids. And I saw the indoctrination of my children. I go, the safety of my children are my number one. I've been a father of 3 boys. I got to make sure that I do the right thing. My father never made the right choice. He never was there for me. He chose drugs over me. But I'm not a victim of society. I'm not a victim of my father's choices because I never walked in his shoes. I had to make sure that I had to do the right choices for myself and for my family's future. And Florida was my choice. Me and my wife, we talked. We're like, we're moving to Florida. But where are we going? I looked on the East Coast and didn't really fit in for what we wanted. Hurricane Ian happened here in Florida. One of my friends who lives here, I fished with him in Miami a bunch of times, and I was on a Wednesday, I believe, and I told him, I go, the hurricane's heading right to you. He goes, no, it's supposed to go up to Tampa. I go, look on windy maps, check it out. I go, it's coming right at you. He goes, Tito, you are correct. It's actually coming right at us. Radio silence for 3 days, and actually he called me on Saturday night. He goes, Tito, do you come down and help us out? I was like, that's what friends do, of course. I was able to raise a significant amount of money. Came down, I did generators, did fuel, did water for Matlacha, Pine Island, North of Captiva, and I watched a community come together like I'd never seen before. It gave me hope for this country. Helped out for a week and a half. Met with Sheriff Carmine down at Fort Myers Beach. The destruction of Fort Myers Beach was just, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I've been to Iraq 6 times for the USO. I've seen towns destroyed from war. And that's exactly the mimic that I seen, and it scared the hell out of me. But to watch the community come together was just something that once again, it gave me hope. Sheriff Carmine asked if I'd go down to the sheriff's office to go talk to some of the guys down there. I went down and talked with them. They have a big AI room, like 100 televisions in it, and in every classroom in Lee County, there's a camera. In every street in Lee County, there's a camera. In every school in Lee County, there's 2 officers. Safety for my children. I ended up telling my wife, she said, oh, baby, we need to hurry up and get back home. We got some stuff to work on. I go, we're moving to Cape Coral, Florida. She's all, Cape where? I go, Cape Coral, Florida.
Yeah.
She goes, babe, that's called Cape Coma. I go, I don't care what it's called. The people there are phenomenal people. I watch a community come together.
Yeah.
The safety, no homeless encampments. It was not what California was.
Yeah.
I was
Tito,
very
hey,
fortunate.
stay here. Stick around for a second because we got to take a break.
Yes, sir.
I want to hear more. Hanging out live downtown Fort Myers, Florida's Voice.
Yes, sir.
Tito Ortiz hanging out with us. Come on. Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Some things on your ballot are complicated and some are simple, like Amendment 2, the right to fish and hunt. Amendment 2 is a bipartisan, common-sense measure supported by conservationists, environmentalists, and sportsmen as a humane way to manage Florida's wildlife, protect its natural resources, and promote environmental leadership. So whether you want to protect our environment or our traditions, Amendment 2 is for you. Remember, Amendment 2 is a bipartisan, common-sense measure supported by conservationists, environmentalists, and sportsmen as a humane way to manage Florida's wildlife, protect its natural resources, and promote environmental leadership. If you want to protect our environment or our traditions, Amendment 2 is for you. Paid political advertisement paid for by Vote Yes on Amendment 2, 2640A, Mitcham Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32308.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele. Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Congratulations on your show. Congratulations on your new show. Big deal, huh?
That's why shows like yours are so important. We have an independent county elected sheriff that's ahead of law enforcement in Jacksonville/Duval County. And I know how to work toward making this city safe.
We can't be shy about speaking on things such as faith and politics. We have to remember, in a free society, the public square belongs to all of us.
I'm not interested in North Florida looking like Orlando or Miami. I love where we live, but I think that good jobs means that people that live in this district can stay in this district.
Fishing and hunting is funding a large part of your conservation projects in Florida, and we want to make sure that those are forever preserved.
And the problem with this industry at this point is that they actually target our youth. You can see it in their marketing strategies, where it's bright colors, fun names.
And that's going to be endlessly litigated.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with an offer that can help steer your retirement in the right direction. Look, we're going to navigate the turbulent waters of 24 with this financial uncertainties and shifting tides. Having expert guidance is more crucial than ever, and that's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. As Southwest Florida's certified financial planner professional, Alfie brings expert knowledge and insight. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, isn't just a guide. It's your navigational compass for mastering the financial seas. With decades of experience, Alfie has crafted a powerful roadmap to help you chart your course and make impactful waves in your retirement. Look, for a limited time, you can claim your free copy of this valuable guide. That's right, no cost. This book is more than just pages. It's your blueprint for a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. Don't let this opportunity drift by. Text book to 239-747-1080. That's book to 239-747-1080. Look, secure your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently navigate towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
I've been dipping snuff for well over 30 years. You know, I could wake up in the morning and have a weird lump in my gums. Guess it's like playing Russian roulette, really. I would love grandchildren. And if by quitting it extends my life some, I would gladly lay it down.
Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com to find free resources to help you quit your way.
Today, push harder, push forward, push vigorously.
There are things that I am hiding from people that I'm trying to inspire.
You can do whatever you set your mind to.
I feel like a hypocrite a lot of the times.
Don't give up on yourself ever.
Smoking, I hide it because I'm ashamed of it. I want to get out of the shadow. I want to show people there is light away from the darkness. I am going to quit.
Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com to find free resources to help you quit your way.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at USO.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move. When being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Radical anti-hunting forces are working to ban fishing and hunting across the country. These extreme attacks on our heritage must be met. Thankfully, the International Order of T. Roosevelt is fighting back as the nation's premier organization defending our rights to fish and hunt. This April, you can step into the arena with us and join our fight in Naples, Florida. Join us at the historic Ritz-Carlton Tiburon and hear from world-class speakers including Tucker Carlson. The annual event is the best place for conservationists, anglers, hunters, and all those who want to protect the outdoors to come together, build strategies to protect our rights, and expand opportunities in the future for generations to come. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. You don't want to miss this event.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go!
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Thank you for waking us all up out here, for all you do.
Thank you for giving us a voice.
For being out there helping keep the constitutional republic. I want to thank you for
Your support for veterans in the military.
educating us,
Standing up for conservatism.
giving us the truth.
Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Well, here we are. We are live, doing a live show today. We are downtown Fort Myers, so we are in Southwest Florida. As you know, Florida's Voice is statewide. A lot of great affiliates hanging out with us. A big thank you to 98.9 WGUF, Naples FM Talk, one of the affiliates who is hanging out with us here in Southwest Florida. We appreciate it, and we're going to be traveling once again around the state. We've got a lot more of these to do, and we love being able to do it. So we will be doing one somewhere near you very soon. Looking forward to that. Anytime you want to watch the program, flvoicenews.com. You can go to the website, Florida's Voice. You can go to any one of our social media platforms, which would be at FL Voice News on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And we so appreciate, again, all the affiliates across the state joining and hanging out with us. And so far, it's been quite the day. Once again, how about the governor? Governor Ron DeSantis in the house, everybody. How about that, right? Amazing. Wilton Simpson and everybody who stopped by, Kathleen Passidomo and Jenna Persons, and, of course, Kevin Ruane, Lee County Commissioner, and just some great, and even Brendan Leslie, who's walking around right now. I don't know where Brendan is. And now we get an opportunity to talk to a few people that you may or may not know across the state, but you're going to learn and find out more about them. And obviously a lot to talk about this election cycle. First of all, State Senator Jonathan Martin to my left, your right here. Oh, wait, I have to turn your mic on. There it is.
Good morning.
Okay, there it is. Okay. And to my right, your left, it is Tito Ortiz, everybody, right here, hanging out for another break. By the way, Tito, for those that don't know, maybe across the state of Florida, maybe talk a little bit about your background in case people don't know.
Well, being born in Huntington Beach, California, I started wrestling as a freshman in high school. Went to junior college, got my AA degree, and this sport called Ultimate Fighting Championship was about. And I was like, I'm competitive. Let's give it a try. I fought in UFC 13, May 30th, in 1997. For free. Reason I did it for free so I wouldn't lose my scholarship for wrestling. Won one fight, got in the finals, lost to a fight I probably shouldn't have lost. Went back to school for the year. Me and the coach didn't see eye to eye. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back and try this fighting out. I want to become world champion. Well, that next year I became the world champ. Defended my world title 5 consecutive times for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. But it's really awesome because, I mean, I was able to achieve the American dream from a kid, from being on the streets, my parents having a drug problem, my mother pulling away from my father, gave me an opportunity where I got into wrestling, where wrestling saved my life. People know me as Tito Ortiz, but actually my name is Jacob Ortiz. And in the Bible, Jacob wrestled against an angel. Angel beat him and saved his life. Well, wrestling saved my life. And then I got into fighting, became a world champion, competed for 25 years, 5 title defenses, able to build businesses, able to build the American dream for my children, for my family. And then all of a sudden, I landed here in the greatest state in the nation.
Yeah! Jonathan, you want to follow that? You want to follow that up with your history, your UFC history? No. Anyway, but
I'm 0 for 0.
0 for 0, and is that right? No, we don't want to talk about that. Anyway, first of all, Jonathan, it's great to see you. And for those that don't know, Jonathan has been helping me multiple times. We have done this, going through the amendment process and getting the word out, because I think a lot of people don't realize, when it comes to 3 and 4, they do know, they do realize, and there's a lot of focus on it as well. There should be. And then, of course, there are other amendments that we were talking about this week, ones that maybe people don't hear enough about. And, I wonder if there are, well, maybe you can just give me just a quick overview on the others. Maybe, 1, 2, 5, 6, maybe just a quick overview on those.
All right, yeah, let's start off with Amendment 1. Amendment 1 does something that we kind of take for granted. On most of the elections, especially the ones that we talk about, most of the people that were here on the stage earlier, they run in partisan elections. So when you go to the ballot box in November, you've never seen these names before, you can at least tell which political party they represent. So the one important election that we have where that important party information is not included are school board races. School board races are extremely important, and I think we all understand the importance of school board races, especially after what we were exposed to in our public schools around the country during COVID. We actually saw what was being taught in the schools. We know that there's a culture war. There's a lot of people that are trying to bring our country down from the inside, and they're starting with our education. So one way to actually inform the voters is to at least provide which party these candidates are a part of. So more information is better. I think it's ridiculous that anybody thinks that less information is going to help us make a more informed decision. So this puts that party information, whether you're a Democrat who wants to vote for a Democrat, or a Republican who wants to vote for a Republican, or somebody who doesn't like the party process and you want to see who the NPAs are on the ballot, this will give you that additional information when you go to the ballot box. So Amendment number 1 is very important, I think, not just for getting information, but also for the future of our country.
And Tito, like we were just talking about with education and how important that was for you when you made the move here to Southwest Florida. And, I can only imagine what education was like in California. I'm assuming indoctrination might be a word that came up every once in a while.
They're actually just confusing a lot of children. As being a father of 3, my job is to teach my kid about life. The teacher's job is to teach them about arithmetic, mathematics, history, only that. Stick to the curriculum, only the curriculum. When they start getting into genders, so forth like that, I have friends that are gay. I have no problem with gay people. I'm okay with it. They're friends of mine. But if you're 18 or older, you make that decision, that's your choice. But do not push it on the children. Children are so influential at such a young age. You got to make sure parents need to be parents, and it's important. It is very, very important. But when I left California, like I said, my children were being indoctrinated. My son comes up to me and he's like, Dad, my history teacher told me that Christianity started slavery. I was like, hold on a second. He's like, no, Dad, I raised my hand. I said, no, Jesus washed the feet of everybody, of all slaves and everybody. There was never anything like that. And for my son being 12 years old to say that, to raise his hand and do that, I'm very thankful. But I'm doing the right thing, so I'm knowing I'm being a good father by doing that. But like I said, the school's there. I couldn't do it anymore. I'm glad DeSantis had no non-woke agenda here. It's about the children's being smart, being entrepreneurs, and building to be our next generation is going to take care of us. Because like I say, I'm 49 years old. I came from nothing. I've been able to achieve the American dream. I'm able to give my children what they want for the future, the fuel, the fire, the desire to make this country great. And I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. And let me tell you, I endorse Trump. I endorse DeSantis. There's a lot of other Republicans I do endorse, I don't get paid for it, and I'm willing to put my name on the line, and I don't care. You just seen people like Kamala Harris paying people $2.7 million to endorse her. It's like, this is disgusting. This is no longer Democrat, Republican, liberal versus anything. This is good versus evil right now. People need to understand this. You need to reach out to each and every one of your friends, family, brother, sister, uncle, nephew, who's 18 and older, who can vote, to make sure that we vote Republican all the way down. This country needs this right now. It's really, really important.
Yep. Jonathan, Amendment 2, why don't you talk a little bit about Amendment 2?
So Amendment 2 is actually one of those constitutional amendments that's really, really important. And if you look how it's drafted, and not just the summary that's going to appear on the ballot, but actually look at what the amendment says, it's 8 lines long. So on a page, it's about a third of a page. And it just basically says, in Florida, we will have the right to fish and hunt. Well, why does it need to be a constitutional amendment? It needs to be a constitutional amendment because there's movements across the country, there's one in Oregon right now, to legislatively limit the ability for a 5-year-old to take his fishing pole down to the park and throw a line and a hook in a stream. They are coming after our ability to provide for ourselves. If the government can take away our ability to feed ourselves through hunting or fishing, just the natural God-given way, they can control everything. So I think it's a very fundamental exercise that whether or not you engage in it, you should know somebody who engages in it. There's a lot of independence and autonomy that comes with it. When you can feed yourself and you're not scared of who's controlling your food, you can make better decisions at the ballot box. This is a threat that's coming this way. I think it's very important that we all vote yes on Amendment 2. It's 8 lines long. I think the summary is even longer than the actual amendment.
Wow.
And if we start talking about Amendment 3, I'll make a clear distinction about why Amendment 2 should have been the framework for somebody writing Amendment 3.
Yeah, you know, it's a funny thing when you're in desperate times and you're standing in front of a lake and everybody's looking and going, how are we going to eat? And you're like, I think I know what we have to do. And so because
that's actually really funny you say that because I'm a huge fisherman.
There you go.
I've been fishing. I've been 6. I was a pinhead in Southern California when I was 11. I was a deckhand at 14. I worked on boats all the way to be 20 years old. We did long line fishing. I did commercial fishing. Did sport fishing. I'm a huge fisherman. People say, Tito, how good a fisherman are you? I'm a better fisherman than I'm a fighter, so go figure. So that's something that we do need to make sure we vote yes.
Yeah, and again, like I've said a million times, there's nothing better than being with your son. Like my son loves bass fishing. And we go out there with my son, and we're fishing. There's no electronic devices. It's just me and him and who's going to catch the biggest fish, and it's always him. But that's a whole other story, Tito. We'll have to talk about that another time.
Yep.
Maybe I have to get with you and get some fishing techniques. That's what I need. Do you want to talk about Amendment 3 real fast? Go ahead.
Let's talk about 5.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we talk about the ones that we haven't been hitting too much on lately.
Yeah, let's get through the yes votes on these. So 1 is a yes, 2 is a yes, 5 is also a yes. What 5 does is interesting, and this is why it has to be in the Constitution. And keep in mind, 1, 2, 5, and 6 were all amendments that were put on the ballot by the legislature. So the legislature vetted these, we debated, we found the proper wording. That's how an amendment should get to the people, is after we've had experts, we've had lawyers, we've had, and not just like lawyers bought and paid for, as the governor was saying, by a massive corporation, but lawyers that work for the legislators and work for the government that are held accountable to the people that you hold accountable. So Amendment 5 is interesting because, as you're all familiar, if you own property in the state of Florida, you're taxed on the value of your property every year. Now, if you're homesteaded, you're taxed on the taxable value, which is capped. The increases are capped every year at a couple %. But unfortunately, what happens is the exemptions that you get. So your homestead exemptions, if you're a veteran, your veterans exemptions, those stay the same every single year. So what Amendment 5 does, it allows those exemptions to also increase every single year with inflation, so that as your taxable value increases, your exemptions also increase, so that those on fixed incomes or those just trying to not pay a whole lot of money in taxes, you're not going to also suffer with the taxable value increasing every year, outpacing those exemptions that are put in place. And that's why it has to be a constitutional amendment, because it deals with the constitutional issue of how we tax in the state of Florida.
Tito, remember those times in California when the legislature and people there in California were concerned about how much taxes you were paying, and they wanted to cut them and do things to be able to make it easier on you? I'm kidding.
No, let me tell you.
When Tito stares you down, you stop quickly. It's like, okay, never mind. I'm moving on.
I've been paying 50% of my taxes since I was 23 when I started fighting. So half my money went to the government. And it's just, I just came from Mar-a-Lago, like I said. I saw Line in the Sands. If you get an opportunity, go on tuckercarlson.com. Watch this. It made me cry. I'm a big, tough guy, of course, but what is happening on the border right now, what is happening in this country right now with the child trafficking, it is way worse than you can ever imagine. And the government is paying into it with our tax money. It is so hard to watch. And I watched it last night. Like I said, I had tears coming down. My wife looks at me, you okay? I go, babe, this is disgusting because my money is going to this. Our money is going to this. And there's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars from our government facilitating this, from New York to Arizona, all the way down, I believe, middle of Mexico. And they're all coming up. And it's scary what's happening right now. We got to make sure it doesn't happen here in Florida. That's why we need to continue to work in the way we're working. Having people like Ron DeSantis fighting for our future.
Yeah, and by the way, for those that are listening at flvoicenews.com, Florida's Voice, or maybe one of our great affiliates, and you're checking out the show, you Democrats, and we have a lot of Florida Democrats, funny enough, who like to watch the program. It's fun to watch and have them comment, and we know you're watching and you're listening, and that's cool. Hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you take Tito's advice and watch the movie, and then see how you come out of it, and see how it'll
change a lot of people's minds.
And let's see. And if anything, he dares you. It's a challenge. How about that? Well, no, Democrats don't like to be. I don't think they like to be challenged.
Open your mind, open your eyes.
Exactly. Amendment 6, Jonathan Martin, what do we have?
So Amendment 6 gets rid of the public financing for political campaigns. If you think about how we've changed in getting your messages out as candidates over the past couple decades, in Florida, we have a really, really good opportunity. I mean, especially with grassroots radio like this and news. If you're running not as a Republican, not as a Democrat, or if you're a underfunded Republican or Democrat in a primary, you have other ways to get your message out than the old-fashioned way of traditional TV media or newspapers. I mean, those are dead. So there's a lot more ways for grassroots candidates to get their information out. And what we've seen over the past few years is people will run for office, get government money to the millions and millions of dollars in these statewide races, and it doesn't affect the vote. They have people that are going to vote for them. You guys can research who's on the ballot well before you ever get to the ballot box, whether it's in a primary or general election, and you can learn a lot about candidates, whether it's through social media, their own websites. It don't cost a whole lot of money to set up. This money has not changed anybody's opinion. If you're going to vote third party, you're going to vote third party. If you're going to vote for a certain candidate, you're going to vote for them. There's very few people here that are influenced based on the sheer amount of money that's being spent in a campaign, and sometimes too much money is going to turn many voters away. So this saves the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars every election cycle for those statewide elections around the state if you vote yes on it.
Well, there you go. All right, so keeping an eye on all of these things the legislature is, and listen, the one thing that we quickly realize as we've been sitting here with the governor and so many others is that I dare any other state to come up with and do what it is that we do here. And I know that we do the right thing in the state because I see how many people are moving here. I see the traffic when we leave. If you're here in Southwest Florida, you know where the traffic spots are at, and it gets to be more and more across the state. We all know it because people love it. They want to be here, and there's a reason why, and it's good governance. And by the way, it's also good stewards of your tax dollars. There's things that we're able to do in a pinch to pivot, especially when there's storms or things that are happening that you can't do if you have a state that doesn't understand what it means to be good stewards of tax dollars, if they're spending your money recklessly, if they're not taking care of what needs to be taken care of, then ultimately you have states that can't do and can't pivot and can't do the things that we do. And it's so important to realize that, and I know you do because you're here and you're listening to the show. All right, so now we've got a couple more minutes. Yeah, we got about, we're good. So now let's pivot, Jonathan, to, once again, just so everybody knows, you got the other ones, 3 and 4.
All right. 3 and 4 were not put on the ballot by the legislature. In fact, the legislature has addressed these subjects over the past few decades. Amendment 4 deals with abortion. You heard the governor up here talking about just how misleading the ads were. The fact that the people who are supporting Amendment 4 have to lie about the current law in Florida tells you that the current law in Florida is not that scary. Because if it was scary, they could just tell you what the law was in Florida, and there would be plenty of people voting for Amendment 4. The fact that they're lying about it shows that Amendment 4 is irrelevant. It's not necessary. It's not needed. People aren't scared of what the legislature did a couple years ago. Now, there's always debates about the politics of, when should abortion be legal, when shouldn't it be illegal. But what Amendment 4 does, it takes that debate out of our hands. We can no longer have that debate. When I'm knocking on doors, when I'm talking to constituents in my district, and they tell me that they want me to change something, I won't have the ability to go to Tallahassee and change what's put in Amendment 4 because it's a constitutional amendment. If it passes, it dictates what we can do in the legislature regarding that entire subject of regulation of abortion. What we have in place right now protects women. It protects the health of a mother. It protects the life of a mother. And in fact, I'm a personal injury attorney. If you know a doctor that has killed an innocent woman because the doctor said that he couldn't perform an abortion that was going to kill her, call me. I will sue that doctor. I don't know why John Morgan's not saying the same thing, but what those ads, the Yes on 4 ads out there are doing, they're lying. I will sue the doctor who kills a girl by not taking care of her health because that's protected in Florida law, and it will always continue to be protected in Florida law.
How about that?
Awesome.
Tito, any thoughts?
I don't know. When I was a kid growing up, I was always told, don't have sex. What happened to abstinence? Wear a condom. Incest, rape, 100%. That should not happen. That is disgusting. Should not happen. Other situations going along that, it goes to the state, should state to the state. Shouldn't be in the federal. That's my opinion. I'm a father of 3 boys. If you can afford a child, you should have a child. If you can't afford a child, you better get a better job. You better work harder. You better make sure you're able to afford that child. Plain and simple. That's just life. God has given us great gifts to make lives happen, make souls happen. And some of the things that do happen with that, it's heartbreaking because I know a lot of mothers do it by mistake, have a one-night fling with somebody. Once again, be responsible. Be a responsible parent. That's what it becomes. If you want to have a family, prepare for financial, prepare for emotional. At the end of the day, a family, a nuclear family is important to have. But if you're able to do it the right way, that's what's important. So I agree with him, Sam.
Yeah, and I think one of the, you can applaud that. And one of the things that's important too is listen, like we've talked about a couple of different times here today, make sure that you have conversations with people and be prepared about these issues 3 and 4, because these are the ones where the battle really is happening. And all they have to do is see for themselves, because a lot of people aren't even paying attention. They just look at the overall picture. What is it about? It's about abortion. I don't like what's going on in the state. Okay. And so they're willing to go into a polling place and vote for something that they don't even know what's in the language, where most of the time, if they knew what was in the language specifically, they might not do it, or at least were told how the consequences could be with something so vague. I really, truly believe that is something that we have to keep an eye on. And even with 3, Jonathan, Amendment 3 is the same kind of thing. Again, like I talked to the governor before, I don't like being lied to and I don't like being duped. And, we're in the same position again.
Yeah, so Amendment 3 is really interesting how they constructed the actual amendment itself. So the summary is what you're going to see on the ballot. It looks like maybe it's about half a page, single column on your ballot. The problem is, if the amendment was going to do what the summary says, the summary would be longer than the actual amendment. Amendment 2, again, provides a constitutional right to hunt and fish in the state of Florida. If Amendment 3's goal is to provide a constitutional right to smoke recreational marijuana in Florida, or to use recreational marijuana in Florida, it wouldn't be 7 pages long. Think about that. And this is what I've learned a long time in the courtroom. If you got your point, if you're going to win, your argument is usually really, really, really short. If you're losing, you make your argument really, really long. If you're talking to your 3-year-old about where that last cookie went that was on the counter, if the 3-year-old didn't eat the cookie, he'll say, no, I didn't eat the cookie. If the 3-year-old ate the cookie, those are really long explanations, even for 3-year-olds. That's what Amendment 3 is. It's a long explanation. They're trying to bore you to death. But this is what I want to draw your attention to on Amendment 3. 1, civil and criminal liability exemptions. That's absurd. That's absurd. If you want to do anything in this country, you should be accountable if you screw up. We should give tons and tons of freedom to people, but if you screw up, you should be held accountable. If you rear end somebody at a stoplight, you should be held accountable. If you kill somebody, you should be held accountable, criminally or civilly. What this does, this provides unheard of, unprecedented civil and criminal immunity, which, if this passes, you're going to see massive corporations coming out of the woodwork and doing this throughout the entire Florida Constitution.
Yeah, all right, keep an eye on all of it. We got to take a break right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Martin, Tito Ortiz, come on now. All right, we'll be back with more coming up live from Southwest Florida, downtown Fort Myers, the Bay Street Yard.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. Is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Hello, this is Earl Nightingale for Soundcheck Studios. Have you ever wondered how jingles are made?
Together we'll make America great again. We'll make it great. Together we'll make America great again. We'll make America great. Together we'll make America great again. We'll make it great.
How would you like to have a custom jingle made for your political campaign? Soundcheck Studios can make the perfect jingle for you right now. For information on campaign music, call Soundcheck Studios at 239-340-0515. That's 239-340-0515. Soundcheck Studios can make the perfect jingle for you right now. Call Soundcheck Studios at 239-340-0515.
America great again. We'll make it great.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
Hey, you got this. Just breathe. Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Radical anti-hunting forces are working to ban fishing and hunting across the country. These extreme attacks on our heritage must be met. Thankfully, the International Order of T. Roosevelt is fighting back as the nation's premier organization defending our rights to fish and hunt. This April, you can step into the arena with us and join our fight in Naples, Florida. Join us at the historic Ritz-Carlton Tiburon and hear from world-class speakers including Tucker Carlson. The annual event is the best place for conservationists, anglers, hunters, and all those who want to protect the outdoors to come together, build strategies to protect our rights, and expand opportunities in the future for generations to come. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. Visit IOTR.org to learn more about our organization and to sign up to see Tucker in April. You don't want to miss this event.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org.
Hey, it's Drew Steele with a game-changing offer for those ready to master their retirement journey. Look, we're going to navigate unpredictable waters in 24, an election year marked by financial uncertainty. It's crucial. You've got to have expert guidance. That's where my good friend Alfie Townsend comes in. The Southwest Florida Certified Financial Planner Professional, Alfie brings unparalleled experience and insight to the table. His latest book, Making Waves in Retirement, it's not just a guide. It's your strategic compass for navigating the financial seas with confidence. Look, with decades of experience, Alfie has created a powerful roadmap. It'll help you chart your course and make meaningful waves in your retirement. And for a limited time, you can get your hands on this book free. That's right, no cost. The book is more than just a collection of stories. It's a blueprint for achieving a prosperous and fulfilling retirement. So don't miss out. Text book to 239-747-1080 right now. It's book to 239-747-1080 and claim your free copy today. Let's make 24 the year you confidently steer towards a brighter financial future. Text book to 239-747-1080.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
All right, once again, we are live statewide. We do appreciate everybody for hanging out with us here at Bay Street Yard. We are in downtown Fort Myers, so we are in Southwest Florida today. Yes, sometime soon we'll be near a city. We'll be near a city near you. You know, I'm going to work on the English thing for me because sometimes it's a struggle. But anyway, it's safe to say we're going to do this again somewhere in it's the state of Florida, and we are looking forward to it. And a big thank you to everybody for stopping by here downtown Fort Myers. And listen, I had promised this throughout the day, and we've had some great guests. And a couple of things that I wanted to mention in case you didn't know it. If you're following polls, if you're a poll person, then you know that the polls have not been exactly beneficial to one Kamala Harris. And so each and every day we're getting new polls. But apparently the latest Wall Street Journal polling is even more devastating for her. And the poll now, in a two-way, has Trump 49 to 46% in a national poll. Can I say that again? In a national poll, in a two-way race, Trump 49, Harris 46 in the latest interactive polls from the Wall Street Journal. If you are to take the full field, 47 to 45% for Trump once again. Now, as you get closer and closer to Election Day, this is the thing. The closer we get, the tighter things are going to be as far as results and what is right. And so now you have more polls that are showing what people are feeling, which is it just feels like it's going to be a good-sized victory. Now, the national polling is the one that's interesting because if you go back in time, as you remember, I think we had Eric. By the way, Eric Doherty's in the audience here. Why don't I just bring you up here? Do you want to talk about do you have this off your noggin? I mean, typically you do. Why don't you come up here? All right, so you can handle this, right? Just grab this microphone. Eric Doherty, you probably heard him on the air on Florida's Voice with me, and he is what we call our polling guru. And I forgot that you're here. Not that I didn't notice you right in front of me.
I take no offense.
Yeah, yes, you do. So, all right. So what about this? Did you see these latest numbers?
Which poll is this?
Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal. That came out last night, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was Trump +3, which is really big. Trump was down at this point in 2020 by around 6 to 7 points.
Right.
Trump +3. I mean, here's the thing with all the polling we're seeing. National polls tend to be a little bit more accurate than some of these battleground polls. And at the current moment, the odds of that national poll being correct with the polls showing Trump tied in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, all these battlegrounds, if he's winning the country by 3 points, those states are not going to be close. Those states are going to be closer to 3, 4, 5 point wins for Trump if he is indeed winning the popular vote at all, let alone winning it by 3. So that's big.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time, I don't even know, maybe you don't know this either. When was the last time a Republican won the national? Was it 2000 and, I'm going to guess.
It might have been Bush, or it might have been,
I'm going to guess,
yeah,
I'm going to guess Bush 2004.
Yeah, I think you're correct on that.
Against John Kerry, who's very hoity and who knows a lot more than you do. And we're all going to die in 10 years in 2004 because of climate change, and we're still here, which is a really weird thing. Or is that Al Gore? I get them confused. They both do that kind of thing. So then, Eric, what is it that you are noticing or looking at now as we get towards the end of the week? We got one more week left, technically, if you're looking at the polls, how a lot of people are closing their polling, right? They're just finishing up their last polls before the election. What are some things today that you're noticing, and what are the things that you're worried about? Like, what are the things that we should look at and pay attention to? Do you have any of that?
Yeah, so I think right now there's pretty much a universal movement towards Donald Trump in both national polls and state polls. There were 2 polls that came out with Trump leading in Pennsylvania. That's just today. There was one that came out with him ahead in Wisconsin.
Now he can win. He can win without Pennsylvania, right?
He can. The thing about the swing states is if Trump is winning Pennsylvania, he's probably winning Michigan and Wisconsin as well.
Yeah.
But if he's losing Pennsylvania, the odds go up that he's losing those other 2 states. But heading into this final week and a half of the election, it looks like the early voting is really good for Republicans. They're outright leading in North Carolina, Nevada, and Arizona in the early voting. And at that point, you go into Election Day, Democrats are not going to outvote Republicans on Election Day. So we're getting close to the point where we could basically head into Election Day and think that Trump has those, pretty much is more likely to win those states. We don't have enough. The only thing you could be concerned with right now is Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And the main reason for that is the lack of data. I am most optimistic, especially after today, with Pennsylvania, because the Republicans actually out-requested mail-in ballots over the last day 2-1, which is really big in Pennsylvania.
Right.
They are returning, they're now matching the ballot return rate close to it of the Democrats when they were down by 10 in that statistic in 2020. So I think the main thing to watch for is Republicans still have to come out on Election Day, especially in Pennsylvania. They still have a big deficit. It's cut down by about 20 points from 2020, which is massive. But they still have to outvote Democrats on Election Day. I think that's a bet you would rather take if you're Donald Trump heading into Election Day, though.
Yeah. All right, Eric, good stuff. You got to go back to work. You have other things to do. Okay.
All right.
Brendan's going to be upset with us. All right. FLVoiceNews.com, Florida's Voice. That's the website. Anytime you want to watch, you can watch the program. It's actually Eric who's, is Eric manning the camera too? He's doing polls, he's manning cameras, he's serving drinks. I don't know what else he's doing here at Bay Street Yard, downtown Fort Myers. It's a crazy day today. Speaking of a crazy day, yesterday was a crazy day for Kamala Harris. And if you don't believe me, I'm sure you've heard some of the audio that has been coming out throughout the day with regard to what she did yesterday at the CNN town hall. And I just wanted to play some of these clips because there's no doubt that you have to look at this and just wonder how many people listen to what she's saying and are still undecided. Well, the truth is, this is no undecided. Can we stop with the undecided thing? You're decided. You're just not sure whether or not you want anybody to see you voting for Trump. That's what it is. Just admit it. All right, so who was it? It was Greg Price. No, it was Colin Rugg on Twitter, who had a fantastic, he's with Trending Politics, and he had a fantastic take yesterday, clipping down the top 7 moments that Kamala Harris had, the worst moments of the night, if you will. Let me see if I can play some of these and give you an idea of what was going on.
What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
So she's asked what weaknesses you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome your weaknesses?
That's a great question,
Yeah,
Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect, so let's start there. And I think that perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives. My team will tell you, I am constantly saying, let's kick the tire on that. Let's kick the tires on it.
Let's kick the tires on that. So there's Kamala Harris, one of the big ones that people are talking about today, her biggest weakness, and she responds by basically saying, I like having a lot of smart people around me, and I like to kick tires. So she likes to kick tires and have smart people around her, which would suggest that she might need some help from the smarter people. And it's kind of one of those things. What else do we have?
There's something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
Uh-oh.
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, you know, if you've ever parented a child, you know you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
Like, kind of like that one. Like, that was, all right, so there's a question, and working very hard at making sure that she's well versed on issues. And then when you ask, well, how about this issue? Are you well versed on this one? And the answer is, well, I like being well versed on the issues, and so I will get with my smart team and find out how well versed I am on the issues. Apparently, that's how. Look, it was that kind of night, and you know, more than a few people were bringing up the obvious, what they were seeing, which was it felt like there was a little more anger than maybe there should have been, being questioned about certain things with regard to like, what was it, Donald Trump and some of what she said about him. For example, let's listen to this.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall.
Yeah, okay. That's it. Right. So, do you see where we're going here? Okay. She goes on and talks for another minute and 40 seconds of probably what I don't even have to listen to, but I'm sure is a word salad. And the point is the first things out of her mouth is, let's talk about Donald Trump. No. We don't want to do that. We want to hear what you think. What are your answers to these questions? She just wasn't giving it yesterday. And even on CNN, it was too hard to avoid. I mean, is this... Well, let's see. Here's CNN just today. And they were asking pretty much anybody on this panel what they thought about it. And here is one person in particular on CNN who said...
listen, Kamala Harris participated in a one-person debate last night, and she lost.
Kamala Harris participated in a one-person debate last night, and she lost. Wow. Okay, and that's CNN doing that. So I don't know who the guy... Oh, it's David Urban. Okay, he's a Republican strategist, former campaign advisor for Trump. So I'm just giving you his name because you're not going to see him anymore on CNN. Like, that's it. He's done. That's all. We can't do any more with that. There was a lot of that yesterday. Here's one that I just wanted to play before we move on. And this was from the town hall on CNN yesterday. Look, she knows that she doesn't have all the answers to everything.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess.
Yeah, you know, we're days away from you possibly being the next president of the United States. Now, forgive me if I really, really need you to be more on the ball with answers as soon as I ask them. But she doesn't want to give the answers to the questions because, well, you fill in the blank. I'll let you handle that, because ultimately, when we see this, it's just more of the same, okay? It's more of the same from Kamala Harris. It's more of the same from Democrats. It's more of the same where now people have to start showing up, and we need to start seeing some legit numbers. You've got concerns in some places. I'm hearing a report out of Georgia found 20 non-citizens registered to vote out of 8 million. So it's good to see that there were 20 non-citizens that registered to vote, and they caught them. So that's a good thing. At least they were finding them. we have, like we talked about, some of the other polling numbers that have been out as we see what's going on across the state and certainly across the country. And there's also been a lot of talk about what we are going to see if you've got Kamala Harris as the president of the United States as far as world politics. And now we don't want to have any situation going on where we're going to be talking about the WW3 thing. And so whether it's world politics, whether it's Kamala Harris who's telling you and doing the song and dance about how, listen, you can't ask me the questions too quickly. Because I need time to kind of soak it in, take it in, and I can't give. Yes, you can. At this moment in time, you really need to. And so when we come back in just a little bit, we can talk about some other things that are going on, including what's happening here in the state. FLVoiceNews.com, Florida's Voice, has some stories out there that I certainly wanted to touch on because there is a lot that you can see. There's the Florida early voting that you can check out at the website for the 24 election. It's up there. It's pretty sweet. So it's live, keeps you up to date. So you should go to the website, FLVoiceNews.com, and see what's going on there. Once again, hopefully we'll be near a city, town near you in the state of Florida. We are in Southwest Florida today doing our show live, Bay Street Yard, downtown Fort Myers.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Babes, what are you doing?
What? I'm just mowing the lawn.
No, it's blazing hot and dry out here. Don't you remember? Smokey Bear says.
Avoid using power equipment when it's windy or dry.
Where'd you learn this?
Oh, it's on
SmokeyBear.com with many other wildfire prevention tips.
Right. Thanks, honey bear.
Because remember, only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I like a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/olderadults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/olderadults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at USO.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move. When being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at USO.org today.
Now, back to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
You know, it's a strange thing when you have a October surprise moment that we heard about yesterday with Kamala Harris and the whole Trump is Hitler thing, and people are like, oh, tell me when we change the subject. You know, they're kind of bored of it, pretty much. And we're not going to do this again, and kind of blew it off, and we're going to move on. And so, what do you do next? What do you do for an encore? Well, I hope the CNN town hall wasn't the encore, or maybe that was the distraction so people wouldn't pay attention to the encore, which was the CNN town hall yesterday, which, of course, we pay attention to. So I have to play more audio coming up from that in just a second. And want to let everybody know that we are live. We are in Southwest Florida. Of course, you know Florida's Voice with Drew Steele is live each and every day, 3 to 6 p.m. And we have been, traveling the state all the time. We do this. We do events. Hopefully we'll be doing one in your town soon. And so we are looking forward to that. Certainly, we're getting closer to the election. But once the election's over, let's see what happens next. We're looking forward to being near you. We're at Bay Street Yard, downtown Fort Myers, and a big thank you for them for hosting this. It's been fantastic today, the weather and the folks. It's just been great having the governor here. It's been pretty special. But I just wanted to play a couple of more clips before we move on from yesterday. I'm assuming the Trump is Hitler distraction thing and some of the other things that have popped up about Trump, where people are like, tell us something else because you lie all the time. Like that kind of boredom thing, like you're boring me now. We're 1 week before an election, and now you're telling me that all of these issues are popping up conveniently. We get it. Maybe it's because of answers like this. This is yesterday when someone was asking about grocery prices. Things are just too high. Can't afford groceries. What are you going to do?
Grocery prices have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years. Yeah. And some people blame former President Trump. Some people blame President Biden. Who would you say is correct? And what would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Okay, so first of all, that's a layup for her, obviously, because does she have to say anything more? The only thing she talks about is Trump. Everything's Trump, Trump, Trump. So
thank you, Eric. And you're absolutely right. You know it. I know it. I think most Americans know it. Price of groceries is still too high.
All right, so they're too high right now. She's the vice president of the United States. Joe Biden's the president. Prices are too high, okay?
And we need to address it in a number of ways. One of my aspects of doing what we need to do to bring down the cost of living for working people and the middle class in America is,
as long as she doesn't say anything about gouging, then we're fine.
To address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach, grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general.
Somewhere there's going to be an answer here.
Where I took on price gouging.
She went to the price gouging thing. Okay, listen, first of all, stop with the price gouging thing, because if you don't know by now, then you'll never know me. Isn't that the song? If you don't know me. Sorry. Anyway, sometimes I sing. Yeah. If you don't know by now how out of control spending causes the kind of inflation that we have, and prices are too high because of that, and things cost too much because they cost too much at the granular level. I mean, do we really have to go through all of this? Apparently we do. It's not about gouging. Okay, so nothing's changed for people in the grocery industry. It's not like all of a sudden the grocery industry is through the roof with profits. They're not, because their costs go up too. I know, I'm laughing because I feel like I really don't have to explain this, do I? But yeah, of course I do, because that's how it works. They work with margin just like you work with margin. So you can't do that. You know, sooner or later there just has to be something that's going to be said or done that's going to convince people who are supposedly on the fence that the time is now to change. I don't think people are on the fence. I think they know. And that's a good thing. All right. We'll wrap it up coming up in just a minute. Live in Southwest Florida at Bay Street Yard, downtown Fort Myers.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.
Some things on your ballot are complicated and some are simple, like Amendment 2, the right to fish and hunt. Amendment 2 is a bipartisan, common-sense measure supported by conservationists, environmentalists, and sportsmen as a humane way to manage Florida's wildlife, protect its natural resources, and promote environmental leadership. So whether you want to protect our environment or our traditions, Amendment 2 is for you. Remember, Amendment 2 is a bipartisan, common-sense measure supported by conservationists, environmentalists, and sportsmen as a humane way to manage Florida's wildlife, protect its natural resources, and promote environmental leadership. If you want to protect our environment or our traditions, Amendment 2 is for you. Paid political advertisement paid for by Vote Yes on Amendment 2, 2640A, Mitcham Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32308.
Once again, a big thank you to everybody for hanging out with us live downtown Fort Myers, our Southwest Florida show. Thanks to the governor, thanks to Wilton Simpson, thanks to Kathleen Passidomo, and all the others hanging out with us today. What a great show. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. This is Florida's Voice.
You're listening to Florida's Voice with Drew Steele.